Happy day, Thursday. Looks like I'm by myself this morning, unless Chris shows up. I hope he's okay. So we'll see. I had several things I wanted to go over today. I kind of prefer doing it with a panel. That way I can get multiple points of view on the topics. But one of them is that Elon Musk video. He did an interview recently, and there's a clip of it going around, and I have not watched it yet. So I was going to watch it live and then give my thoughts. And some other things I want to talk about. So I guess I'll jump into that. Let's see. Let me pull it up. Okay, the tweet I'm getting it from says, "This is one of the most extraordinary 5-minute clips I've ever seen on this app," meaning Twitter, "an epoch-making exchange." So I don't know what I'm in for. Let's see. Oh, hang on, I gotta change my settings. All right, let's see here. No. Let's see what Mr. Elon Musk has to say.
You're clarifying this now. But there's a public perception that was part of a apology tour, if you will. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
Stop.
You hope
don't advertise.
you don't want them to advertise?
No. If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
Yes. Yes.
But
go fuck yourself. Is that clear?
Wow.
I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
well, let me ask you then.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
He just went up.
How do you think then about the economics of X? If part of the underlying model, at least today, and maybe it needs to shift, maybe the answer is it needs to shift away from advertising. If you believe that this is the one part of your business where you will be beholden to those who have this view, what do you do?
F-Y.
I understand that, but there's a reality too.
I love his jacket.
Right?
Elon's not this guy. Who is this guy?
Yes. No.
I mean, Linda Yaccarino's right here, and she's got to sell advertising.
Absolutely. So, totally. So, no. Actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do? It's going to kill the company.
And do you think that
and the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
But those advertisers, I imagine, are going to say, we didn't kill the company.
Oh yeah.
They're going to say,
tell it to Earth.
But they're going to say Elon, that you killed the company because you said these things, and that they were inappropriate things, and that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform. Right? That's what they're going to say.
And let's see how Earth responds to that.
So this goes back to
we'll both make our cases,
right,
and we'll see what the outcome is.
What are the economics of that for you? I mean, you have enormous resources, so you can actually keep this company going for a very long time. Would you keep it going for a long time if there was no advertising?
I mean, if the company fails because of an advertiser boycott, it will fail because of an advertiser boycott, and that will be what bankrupted the company, and that's what everybody on Earth will know.
What do you think then of the? This goes back to the idea of trust, though.
Then it'll be gone, and it'll be gone because of an advertiser boycott.
But you recognize that some of those people are going to say that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform, and I just wonder and ask you and think about that for a second.
Tell it to the judge.
But the judge is going to be
the judge is the public,
and you think that the public is going to say that Disney is making a mistake.
Yes,
And they're going to boycott Disney?
they already are.
Well,
Yeah, that's
there are some that are for lots of different reasons, but you think that this is going to, that you have this goes to actually the interesting of power and leverage.
Let the chips fall where they may. Let the chips fall where they may.
Can I ask why that is the approach? And I ask it because you've been
What's the other approach?
Well, you've been very particular about the approach to Tesla. When you think about the engineering involved in that, the approach to SpaceX, the approach to some of the stuff you're doing with AI has been very specific, right? There's not a let the chips fall where they may approach to those businesses. I don't think.
No, we focus on making the best products, and Tesla's gotten to where it's gotten with no advertising at all.
I understand that.
Tesla currently sells twice as much in terms of electric vehicles as the rest of electric car makers in the United States combined. Tesla has done more to help the environment than all other companies combined. It would be fair to say that, therefore, as a leader of the company, I've done more for the environment than everyone else, and any single human on Earth.
How do you feel about that? No,
I don't even drive.
How do I feel about that?
Yeah, no, I'm asking you personally how you feel about that, because we're talking about power and influence, and
I'm saying what I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil. Fuck them. Okay?
Wow. Okay. That just endeared me to him even more. I'm not an Elon Musk fan's not even the right word. I don't know much about him. I know that when he took over Twitter, my engagement dropped. I don't even use Twitter, hardly use Twitter anymore. I used to be on Twitter all day long, interacting. People would see my tweets and respond, and I'd respond to theirs. All of that kind of died off when he took over. My tweets weren't getting the engagement they used to. I'm not saying it's anything about him. I'm just saying that's when I noticed it happening. And none of my friends are participating in Twitter anymore. I have to go find and look for their tweets. So I don't know if the algorithm changed or what, but the activity that I was used to on Twitter plummeted. And it's like a ghost town. I go on Twitter and I put out tweets and they just go into the void. Nobody sees them or responds to them or anything. It's completely different than from how it used to be, to the point where I don't even use Twitter anymore. I used to advertise my streams and our movie events and the different Zooms I do on Twitter. I don't think I got a single viewer or participant from Twitter. I don't know if they're not seeing the tweets or if the audience changed or what. I just notice a difference. I don't know what's behind the scenes of that difference, but I definitely noticed the difference. And I don't know if that's Elon's fault or what. But all that is to say, I don't really know much about Elon. That's probably the most footage of Elon I've ever sat down and watched in my life. But he is singing my tune. He is saying all the things I would say, hitting all the points that I would hit in that situation. And I liked his jacket and his pants and his shoes. So that Ross Sorkin guy, if that's who that was, I liked him too. I liked the questions he was asking. But I don't know what I was supposed to see in that clip that made it go viral that everybody was talking about, other than fuck the advertisers. But I mean, I'm so used to that's not that impressive to me. I don't take advertising at all. We're trying to get 1,000 subscribers so that we can monetize and turn this into something sustainable. But I don't know if that's going to involve me taking advertising, because I don't want the constraints that come with it on my ability to express myself. Was just not very good. The clip was not very good. I don't have anything to compare it to, because like I said, that's probably the most of Elon I've ever seen. I don't have any other clips of him that I've watched. I like what he said about like not being beholden to the advertisers, because I feel the same way. Like I probably will not like monetize this. You can monetize in many ways, but advertising I don't think is going to be one of them. Unless the only exception that I can think of is if I'm not going to do product placement or shill for products. But if there's a product that I'm already using that I happen to like, and an advertiser wants to pay me to talk about my use of it on the stream, and because it would be genuine, it would be from an already existing user of that product. It would be a product I believe in. I would consider something like that, endorsing a product that I already use or that I like if it's a new product. But I'm not just going to get paid to endorse some random product that I probably don't even use outside the stream. It's stupid for him, for Twitter. You mean advertise? I don't. I have ad block. I don't see ads anyway, so I don't really know how advertising works on Twitter or how much influence it has on Twitter. And and like he said, I also like that part of what he said. Let's run the experiment and see. Like, this is what I believe. This is what other people believe. Let's let Earth be the final judge. Let's see what happens. He may be wrong. And I don't know. I know even less than he knows about this. My whole life, I'm not. My brain naturally filters at advertising. I don't look at it. During the TV era, I would just mute the commercials or leave the room when they were on and go do something.
Hello.
Hello again.
The primary issue with Elon and him saying like, fuck the advertisers is that like he spent something like $44 billion on Twitter, and its alleged evaluation is a tenth of that now.
Probably just subjectively as a user.
I was never a big Twitter user.
The value has gone down, probably even more than that.
Yeah, my girlfriend talks to me about it because she uses Twitter more than I do. It's just like it's her thing, and she says that she spends like so much less time on Twitter. Even like most of the time she spent on Twitter was like trying to like looking at artists and stuff like that. And she just like she just uses other sites, other platforms for it. She's back. Does she what?
Did she say why?
Yeah, because a lot of the artists like moved off. Well, so like one of the big issues, there's a number of issues, like the way blue check marks work, the way like what Twitter Blue or whatever works is like fucked. The monetization scheme, the new monetization scheme for Twitter.
Paying for
yes.
the check mark.
Yeah. It's
happy about that.
A, it's stupid, and B, like part of the issue is it boosts people who will pay for Twitter, which unfortunately doesn't always translate into like the best people being promoted, right? Because like anyone can buy Twitter. So like
they don't even get promoted. Like I used to have I paid for a blue check, and I get promoted less than I did when I didn't have the check.
Oh wait, really? That's okay. That's even more fucked, honestly.
No,
like
I'm seriously. Every time I get the Twitter receipt, I want to cancel, but it's kind of out of loyalty to Elon and my past experience on Twitter. But I could put that money toward like a streaming subscription. I could get a Criterion subscription for
literally anything
else. Actually watch and use than a Twitter subscription that I never use because nothing's happening.
Yeah, I mean, it was never really an issue for me because like I use Reddit primarily. That's like before TikTok came around, like my primary social media use was Reddit. So
I used Reddit about 10 years ago until I kept getting banned like for stupid shit. And
that's it's frustrating. Now, I will say, Reddit has basically saved Google searches for me. So like Googling things, like searching for things on Google is incredibly frustrating. You run into, especially like if you want to say Google, like what's the best Minecraft weapon, right? Say something asinine right like that. You will be inundated with AI generated bullshit articles. Okay, that shit like is everywhere, and that's like for a lot of like topics, is like you'll just get a lot of AI generated articles, and if you in your Google search type your question and then type Reddit, you'll probably get a better answer.
Well, I get a lot of Reddit results in my searches that I end up going to.
Yeah, like I mean that's I intentionally put Reddit in my search bar so that I can.
And I use AI sometimes too instead of Google.
Yeah, no. Not that AI stuff can't be helpful. Like actually using AI yourself can be really useful. But like the problem is AI generated articles tend to just be like slop. Like when you like go on a website and you find like all these like AI generated articles, like usually they're not like high quality content.
Is there a way to tell?
I mean, like not unless you sometimes know what you're talking about. So like the example I gave, like the Minecraft example, right? You can basically tell. So actually, I might just best Minecraft weapon and see. All right. So let's look at xputer.com. Okay, no, that's correct. That gave me, oh, here we go. Q top 10s.
Do you want to share it so we can see?
Yeah. Let me find one of those articles because my search engine already pulls up a bunch of Reddit stuff. So I'm looking for not Reddit stuff. I'm looking for like random like gaming websites that will like, instead of having a person write the. Oh yeah, here we go. So this article was on the first page. It's like for me it was like the third thing.
Oh, I have a ad block. It won't let me see it. Can you just share it on your screen?
Yeah, I can. How do I share screens?
Just do present and click the tab or the window.
Share screen. Cool. This one. Share. So this right? So FH Fiction Horizon. I don't even know what this fucking website is.
By Valentina Krajic's.
Yeah, sure. So here it says the top 10 best Minecraft weapons. This is not correct. This
was updated last month.
It's allegedly like this is a closer. This is a better answer. Netherite axe is probably the correct answer.
That's Minecraft. Like the graphics don't look much better than Atari.
Oh well, I mean that's the point. The point of Minecraft is that it's supposed to be like it was supposed to be like, oh, it's 8-bit or whatever, 64-bit. You know, you can use like mods to like make it like realistic-y graphics, but I personally prefer the these like old shittier graphics. It's fun. It's part of the charm. Part of the charm.
So you think that Valentina lady is not a real person?
No, that probably is a real person. However, it was probably yeah.
So she's a writer and editor.
Yeah, I mean,
picture.
Yeah, like I have no way to prove that she wrote that article using AI. However, it starts with the number one weapon saying a crossbow, which is just incorrect. It is factually wrong. And like, it just, you know.
Well, like by what objective measures? Because it seems like she's making a case for.
Oh yeah. No. I mean, like, yes. Once you'll have a deadly weapon capable of dealing anywhere between 7 to 11 points of damage, like that's fair, but like the problem is the crossbow sucks as a weapon. It does the most damage, but it's not the best weapon because it does a little bit of chunk of damage and then it's like has a really slow reload, so it's like a bad weapon. Like bows are better than crossbows. Crossbows are bad weapons. This is like broadly the case, unless you're like enchanting your crossbow. It is just not a very good weapon. And she like mentions this. It's like, oh yeah, all you need is to combine this. Which first off, like bows are easier to make and better. Like there's just a lot of like this doesn't come across as someone who even like someone who doesn't know what Minecraft is trying to formulate this. Like kind of comes across to me at least as written in AI. It's not.
So if you went to Reddit, you'd get better answers, and then people
almost certainly, yeah,
argue about it and refine them.
Yeah, that's what like the use for like Reddit for these kinds of things is. But yeah, AI articles, AI written articles are that worries me. The way in which we allow for, because like current AI just isn't in a place that it can like replace humans writing things yet.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is either.
And I would argue that like for the most part, if we get it to that point, it shouldn't be used to replace human writers. It should be used to like AI should be used to replace, you know, shit labor that no one wants to do, not like art.
What? Like doing rough drafts?
Yeah, actually. I mean, actually, that's I actually have used ChatGPT for world building for D&D. Yeah. Mostly to like organize things, right? So like a lot of times I'll just type out random thoughts into ChatGPT and then have it organize those thoughts into something coherent, just because that's like the issue. That's the part of world building that I find difficult, is like organizing everything to make it coherent. Yeah.
I suggested that Chris use it for our movie, like to organize a plot or a script or even do a rough draft. Yeah,
it can. I mean, depending on the version. I know one of my friends, he pays for ChatGPT 4, and he says like it is phenomenal, which I believe him. You know, but like one of the funniest parts was like, okay, so I part of my world building was I had this city state called Rhodes, okay. And I was talking with ChatGPT about it, and like, you know, talking about it for however long, and then I come back and I'm like, okay, ChatGPT, because ChatGPT will like remember conversations it's having with you, and so it's like, okay, ChatGPT, give me again like the culture of Rhodes and yada yada yada, and it spat out a section on a culture for the real city of Rhodes in Greece. And I was like, it was just one of those things where it's just like the limitation of at least the version of the technology that I had. You know, I'm not sure if that's a fundamental limitation of the technology. I doubt it is. I'm sure that ChatGPT can like normally remember things forever. I can't imagine that like the best version of like AI couldn't remember things for significantly longer periods of time.
So you couldn't ever get it to understand?
Well, I could, but I had to like basically re-give it all the information again. I had to talk with it about it. I had to basically like go and like myself summarize all the stuff and be like, hey, look, here is Rhodes, the fictional city in my fictional world that I invented. And it was like, ah, yes, I see. And I'm like, all right, now we're going to talk about this Rhodes. And it was like, oh, okay. And like then we kind of like went off from that. But yeah, no, AI is one of those things where it's like the technology is cool, but it's nowhere near the like world changing effect that I think a lot of people want it to be right now.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think it is either.
Yeah, like it's good. It's a really good technology, and it's a useful technology. But I am a little worried about the way in which it's going to be used in the future.
What are you going off of? Like how do you know how it's good? Because you worry about a lot of things.
That's true. So like for instance, a health insurance provider using AI to determine how much they can charge people for their whatever thing. Like,
Do you think there's going to be checks on that?
I mean, I do think that we could make checks, but I do think that, like, obviously companies that want to use that kind of technology to maximize their profits will advocate for there not to be checks and balances on that, or at least not checks and balances that harm their bottom line.
But
And
do
I
you
think
think they'll advocate successfully?
I mean, just considering like the tobacco industry and what they've been able to do for like a century, and like they still aren't. I would argue that we have not held the tobacco industry to account for the fucked up shit it did. Like the companies that did the fucked up things still exist and still make money, and like we should probably be holding them to account, because there's a lot of Americans who have cancer because of tobacco.
But do you think they didn't know that smoking was bad? Like I knew.
No, they objectively they did know. In fact, we have
The people that smoke. Like I knew since my whole life, since I was a kid.
Well, yeah, but the problem is the tobacco industry literally paid researchers to like find not to hide things, but rather to research things that weren't tobacco related cancer. So basically, there's this whole thing where basically they paid researchers. They were like, oh hey, smoking causes cancer. Well, here's what we'll do: we will pay these scientists to go through tests and see what else causes cancer. Which is why we get like this idea today that like everything causes cancer, because obviously a lot of things can cause cancer. However, like we all know that tobacco use causes, like it is directly correlation. Like it's causation. You get cancer from using tobacco. Period. Like that's not like a. So what they would do was be like, well, but you also get but here are all these scientists saying, oh, you get cancer from all these other things too. So is it that big of a deal? And like, yeah, no, the tobacco companies are run by fucking ghouls.
Because it's capital.
I mean, actually, no. No. Actually, no. Unironically, the tobacco industry in America is unique, is, in my opinion, uniquely evil in a way that is not actually related to capitalism. I mean, obviously, it was done under a capitalist system, but like, capitalism isn't the reason why it happened. It happened because a bunch of people were fucking greedy and were allowed to do some really sketchy, and then also
like maximizing the bottom line.
Well, no, because like you can have a system of capitalism that obviously, like, the thing about capitalism is like that it's the motivation for companies is profit at,
Yeah.
at its core.
That's what,
However, you can have different like levels of how much how far you're willing to go for that profit, right? So like um obviously, like, um today we allow for drug companies to exist, right? And they are obviously looking for profit. However, we as our our country limits how much they can sacrifice, how many other things they can sacrifice in that pursuit of profit. And um, like, that's the balancing act that you have with capitalism, is how do you is balancing like a company's desire for profits with uh I guess, to use the founding fathers, the public welfare, right? Like, it might be it might be profitable for a company to dump all of their toxic waste into the river, but it's against the public welfare to do that, so we don't let them do that, right?
well, that makes sense, and I agree with all of that. I don't
And as far
see
as like the tobacco companies are concerned, yeah, um, letting them, sell people tobacco products is probably fine. However, what we should have done is basically what we do with tobacco now, but we should have done it 50, 60, 70 years ago.
which is
Basic,
what.
which is not even anywhere near, like, so vice taxes are a big thing, more heavily regulating the tobacco industry. Um,
I'm still trying to figure out what, when you said that they got scientists to
yeah,
so the research, was that for the public to try to convince the public that it doesn't cause cancer? Or
well,
was that
it was to
government?
oh god, what's the now I'm trying to remember the phrase. There's a YouTuber. I don't know if you know Philosophy Tube.
Yeah.
So she did a
Is that the trans person?
she is a trans she's a
Yeah.
yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
So she did a video on knowledge, right? On basically the idea of like, there are some things like, okay, we know that smoking is bad for us. Okay, we've known that smoking is bad for you for a long time. That tobacco and smoking and all that shit is bad, like causes cancer. We've known that for decades. However, like, you can get people to sort of overlook that through various ways. So like, either you can get people to not think about it because they're so addicted, right? You can. There are going to be people who are like so fucking addicted to nicotine and tobacco that they don't care that it causes cancer, that it directly causes cancer. They want or need that tobacco, and that's that. Um, if you were to say introduce into the sort of cultural zeitgeist the idea that like, oh man, fucking everything causes cancer, so like why would we care specifically about cigarettes? Because like, just eating food can give you cancer. Which,
What's illegal about that? Isn't that
no. It has nothing to do with illegality. What it has to do with is they were doing that. They knew that their products caused cancer. However, they wanted people to not think about the fact that their products cause cancer. Because if people think about, because the more you get people to think about, like, actually, this is a big thing with like,
what's illegal about that?
No. Again, there's nothing illegal about it. In fact, what they did was perfectly legal, but what they did was immoral.
I care about legal. Like, everyone's gonna have a different opinion of morality. That's why we don't legislate morality. We have laws.
Sure, Sure, but like there are some. Okay, no. Hang on. We do legislate morality. We do legislate morality. Actually, explicitly, murder is illegal because it's immoral.
Okay, but I don't think what you're describing the tobacco companies doing is equivalent to murder.
Oh no, it's not equivalent.
I'm making a distinction between law and moral, and you're seeming to be, and you do this a lot. Like, yes, it's legal, but it should be socially sanctioned or socially.
In many cases, yeah.
Somehow, but even though it's legal, and I go by my parameters are the law.
Well, my parameters
seem to be morality that you superimpose over the law, where it doesn't align with the law.
My parameters are more about harm to people, because like that's what my morality is like functionally based on. Is
like if they didn't do anything illegal, like what can we as a country do about it? We can't change.
Well, we can change it. Well, we can change the law. so that's one thing we can do.
Yeah, but what law would we change? The free speech law?
No. What we would do is we would like regulate tobacco products more.
But how would that work in this case? Like we'd have to.
Oh, I mean, in this case, we would like in the case of like the tobacco industry, what should have happened, like way the fuck back when, is like we should have implemented all of the current laws that currently exist.
Is there a law saying they can't tell people that there's other types of cancer?
No. What there are laws against are is like things about advertising, things about what they have to put on their products. Like they have to put really big warning labels on all of their fucking products, and they used to not have to do that. They used to be able to fucking market cigarettes to kids.
Yeah, they had candy cigarettes,
which is fucked up. Majorly fucked up.
Well, they needed customers. They need future customers after their adult ones die off. Yeah.
Okay. I don't care. I don't want kids to get addicted to tobacco.
Yeah, but I don't want kids to get addicted to tobacco.
So since we both
agree, don't we have laws about like even growing up? When in the 70s, kids could not smoke, and I remember my stepdad would send us to the store to buy cigarettes for him, and the store would tell, well, we can't. We'd tell them it's for our stepdad, and they would not sell it to us. They'd said you have to come buy it yourself. Honestly, so they were enforcing that even in the 70s.
That's impressive for the 70s. I guess not that impressive. It kind of depends on where you were, but yeah. Broadly speaking, but like
rural South,
there's a lot of things that we have today in place that arguably we could have had in place long time ago.
Yeah, but that's like democracy is not perfect. We adjust our system, and that seems like an argument.
No, I agree. I'm saying it's good that we adjusted our system. However,
that's why when you said you're ready to replace it, I don't nearly think it's at that.
Oh no, I'm not ready to replace it by any stretch of the imagination.
That's not what I got from our chat earlier.
Oh no. So the war in
you were anti-capitalism because capitalism has evolved to the point where it's ready to be replaced with something else.
It's. We need to, but I don't know whether or not it's ready.
Why? Why do we need, if it's working and if we can keep improving it like you just described, why do we need to replace it?
Because it's global capitalism is only working for those within the imperial core, those within the
I don't know what that
United
means.
The United States.
For plenty of my family and friends.
Okay, here's what it is. Something like 70% of the world's wealth is held by 14% of the world's population.
Okay, what does that have to do with capitalism lifting my family and friends out of poverty?
Well, no. It lifted you and your friends out of poverty. However,
what are you going to do for anybody?
Global capitalism is the reason why people in third world countries are.
So you're like I'm talking about the U.S., but
I'm from the U.S.
So you're looking at like way outside the U.S. and conditions in other countries, and
I am talking about anti-capitalism, yes, I'm talking about it in a global sense. Now,
Okay. But aren't those countries like developing as well?
Mm.
Like, aren't they in
It
a better
depends.
state than they were like 100 years ago?
It depends on the country, actually, and also it kind of depends on who you are in those countries, because
I don't see why capitalism couldn't work for them as well as it has everybody else.
well, it's not whether or not it could in like a hypothetical sense, it's whether or not it does in its current state, because in its current state capitalism works primarily for people like you and me, people who live in America or Europe or like Australia or New Zealand or Japan. That's like the imperial core. When I talk about like the imperial core,
So
I'm talking
it's not the imperial core. What's a country we can use as an example?
Brazil. Brazil's not in the imperial core.
What's going on in Brazil that capitalism is not working?
What I mean,
Or couldn't
what
work?
do you mean couldn't work? I mean, if it could work, this is the thing. Like capitalism, I guess, like could, well.
So why are you ready to replace it on the?
Well, because our
It's not working for these
because
third
our
world countries.
current existing system of capitalism is set up to exploit people who live in outside of the imperial core to the benefit of those who live within the imperial core.
I don't believe that.
I'm aware
That
you don't
sounds like a
believe that.
distortion.
I mean, that's what colonialism, the purpose of it was to extract wealth from the colonies to bring back to the mother countries. That was
They're not enslaving the colonies, are they? Aren't the colonies participating in it voluntarily because they get a benefit from it as well?
well, it depends on the colony, right? Because, like, for instance, India, okay, the colony of it when India was a British colony, the people in India were not participating voluntarily. They had been subjugated by the British and forced into British rule, and that's why they had to resist British rule to gain their independence.
It
Same
was
thing.
slavery. See,
It was not literally slavery, but like, okay, again, is it voluntary if I'm okay? So if I walk up to you and I point a gun at you and I say, "Give you my wallet, give me your wallet," okay, are you voluntarily giving me your wallet, or or are you giving me your wallet under duress?
So what was the gun they pointed that makes
Literal guns. Literal
so
guns.
That sounds like slavery. If they did it at gunpoint by force, how is that different from slavery?
Because they didn't own them as property. They made
so they
them.
went to India at gunpoint and made all the people work for them.
They made I guess the quote unquote government, the people in charge of India, they took control of them and thus gained control of India. So that force was then extrapolated onto the populations.
I don't know. Something about this sounds fishy to me, but I'm not.
I mean, I guess okay. Let's use it. Then what if we use an example that you and I are probably more familiar with?
I want to use an example from today. So is it going on anywhere today? Is Brazil doing that?
Is okay. Actually, is it going on today? Actually, ooh, yes. Hang on. So, we can talk about is it the Congo? Is it Niger? No, it's Niger. It's Niger. That's the one I want to talk about. So let's see. Where was that Niger stuff? There was a current event in Niger recently. Because are you familiar with the country of Niger? The Republic of Niger.
Not currently, no. Like I don't know much of what's going on outside of the U.S.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. For what it's worth, I was somewhat like I knew Niger existed. However, and I knew like that it was an ex-French. Well, okay, calling things ex-French colonies is not necessarily correct. France has held influence over a lot of her ex-colonies.
But I can tell you this.
Mhm.
No argument based on something going on outside of the U.S. is probably going to make me think that we need to change anything about capitalism or anything
Well, I
here.
mean, we're not gonna change here. Okay, I guess this even like goes. We've gotten
Because
off
I would
topic.
have to believe that it's never possible to develop those countries up to the level that all the other countries
Well, I
are.
mean,
And I don't believe that.
No,
it
I
seems
I
perfectly possible to do so.
I think we can. It just like the problem is our current system is not set up.
Well, are you
for that.
looking for reasons we can't so you can use that to say, see, we need to replace capitalism? Or are you honestly, genuinely willing to give capitalism a try?
No, I mean, okay, so if by you mean give capitalism a try, look, capitalism exists,
In
and
these
I'm
other
not advocating.
countries that you just said you do believe that we can develop.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because that is the current global system. Yeah, that we have to use capitalism
You still
to do it.
replace, like you still are chomping at the bit to replace it,
I
even
mean,
if it turns out it can't be used.
In the long term, yes, I do think. Well, in the long term, first off, it will be replaced. That's not like a pie in the sky. That's like it will be eventually. In the same way that well, no, hang on, no. People said the same thing about feudalism. They said the same thing about slavery.
You still don't know. Like none of us know what's going to happen in the future, and I feel confident.
All I'm saying
you might
is,
be right, but you don't know.
All I'm saying, sure, but like I'm not talking about like the idealized utopian future that I'm talking about. I'm talking about like what I was talking about when I was talking about the whole stuff with Warren Buffett. What I was saying is that's what I think he ought to do. Like if I were in Warren Buffett's shoes, if like suddenly like I snap my fingers and suddenly like I'm Warren Buffett, I'm saying that's what he ought to do. Now, as for like what he would reasonably do, I mean, probably what he ought do is like just focus on helping your average American, which for what it's worth, Warren Buffett does kind of. There is what Joe was talking about, the way in which Warren Buffett sort of kind of gives the United States government cash, kind of by like his current investments in the treasury bills and stuff. I did actually look that up. That's actually good. That's actually positive. I like it. It's him, instead of basically like hoarding wealth, he's like pseudo using it. Like he's not injecting it directly in the economy. What?
To your approval.
Well, I mean, he's not.
I don't have strong opinions of what.
Well, I mean, I'm saying that like
it's not even mine. So it's interesting that you do.
Well, no. Okay, so one of the issues with billionaires is that, and like this is actually generally with like very wealthy people, though obviously the issue is the most pronounced with billionaires, which is they don't spend a lot of money, which I know sounds weird, but they don't.
No, I've heard that too.
A lot of their money is tied up in investments, which is fine for making them money, but like as far as like helping the economy, it doesn't help the economy as much as spending money in the economy. So one of the big things that's like that the government tries to do is tries to get billionaires to just fucking spend their money. And one of the ways is those like whatever treasury bonds, the investments that like is basically billionaires buy these bonds from the government, which are an investment. The government gets that cash and then uses that cash to like do things like pay welfare or, you know, whatever. And that sort of gets money running back into the economy. That is a good thing broadly. And I am for more of that because that is one of the issues we have in our economy, is money sort of floating to the top and then sticking there and then not getting circulated again.
Okay.
So that's a positive thing that Warren Buffett is doing with his wealth. It is not the most positive thing that he could be doing with his wealth.
In your opinion.
In my opinion. Obviously, all of this is in my opinion, Jeff.
Why should I care about your opinion?
Well, you're talking to me. You're not talking to anyone else.
Yeah, I don't mind listening to it. I'll listen
Sure.
to it, yeah. But why should I change my position or anything I do because of your opinion?
I'm assuming that you and I probably both agree that it is good that Warren Buffett is helping our economy in a unique kind of way that other billionaires aren't, or aren't as much, by basically putting his money.
Do you know what every billionaire is doing with their money?
Not every billionaire. In fact, some billionaires are doing good things.
Majority. Do you even know what the majority of them are doing with their money? Probably not. Looking at this from a distance.
Sure.
And here's the other. Oh, hey, Chris. Here's the other thing about you and everybody in your position, that in order for me to like truly take you seriously, I would have to see you with money, millions, billions first, to like Bernie Sanders, when all of a sudden he got millions, to really see if your positions don't change or if you stick to these principles now. No,
absolutely. I agree. Like, you don't know. You don't know that this is like my position. If I were given $1 billion, now I would hope if I were given $1 billion.
You don't even know, probably.
No, I don't.
Situation.
You're right.
So that's another reason it's hard for me to like. Not that I don't take. I believe that you believe this, but I'm like, yeah. Well, let's see what happens when he gets the $1 billion. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would. Ideally, I just really wouldn't change my life all that much if I suddenly got $1 billion.
I'd upgrade my equipment.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd fix my car more.
I'd probably get a hybrid.
Honestly, hybrids are nice too. Like that's it's nice.
Like, hybrids, in my opinion, hybrids are better for the environment than electrics are too, because you basically use less oil, which you get from power plants that are not, like I'm just saying, like
even more than that, electric cars aren't going to solve like fucking climate change. Like that's not where most of the emissions are coming from. It's all from like our power generation. Like that's the vast majority of emissions is like power generation.
Check out the shirt I found.
I don't even know what I'm talking about. Me.
I don't even know
what I'm upset about.
Oh, I love it. What's it from?
Though.
Is it from something?
No, it's just this company that I used to sell a lot of these shirts, like from this company called Insight, and like that's just one of their shirts. I just thought it was funny.
By the way, I was thinking about doing some movies later today. How are you doing?
I slept again. Like I fell asleep around like 11:30. So I got up and took care of the baby this morning and put in when she back down for a nap. I fell asleep after that and just woke up. So like that's the reason why I'm here at 2:50.
Are you on demand, like with your ribs?
Yeah, it's just the I guess the healing process of the rib thing is supposed to be wearing me out because I never sleep this much.
That's like, probably a good thing though. Like your body.
Yeah, it's probably good. I mean, I never. I just like it's just weird because I never sleep this much. Like even if I want to sleep this much, I can't. So like the healing, the breaking the bone thing is just like really like.
I sleep more when I'm sick too. When I have a cold or something.
I am too.
So maybe like maybe that's a good sign. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's probably good. I woke up. I woke up because the baby woke up. So like, I mean, the baby woke up and she was crying. So like, and I realized what time it was. So I got up and figured I'd come on here.
Well, you seem better. It's like
no, I mean, I feel that bad. I'm just tired. Here,
look at that.
She heard Jeff's voice. She was
Juniper.
Juniper.
Juniper. Hi, it's your YouTube fans.
It's YouTube.
Uh-oh, no, that's not this kind of show, Juniper. Put that back on.
Oh.
It's
It's just
another website.
nobody cares. We don't got anything to.
It is extreme, but it's not that extreme.
I'm the only extremist here.
You're I gotta keep remembering you're young. I could dismiss.
I'm not even. Jeff, I'm 27.
It's to put. In fact, that leads me
Compared to us, you're young.
Leads me into another topic I wanted to touch on. I'm everybody knows I'm a Dabrowskian. Kazimierz Dabrowski was this Polish psychologist, and he came up with this theory of personality development.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of a Dabrowski group, and every now and then they post really interesting material. So I wanted to read a little bit of one of them because we were talking about spirituality and emotion yesterday.
Yeah.
And also epistemology comes up a lot. So I wanted to read this one passage about epistemology, which applies to what I just said about you being young.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll read the emotional, spiritual stuff later. Knowledge is usually unidimensional, and understanding is multidimensional. Knowledge is based on perception and judgment. Understanding involves also experience and intuition, which add depth to the perception and judgment. I'm not saying you don't, but like that's what I try to draw. Like when I get so persnickety about things, it's because I'm trying to add experience, like my experience and intuition into the perceptions and judgments of other people. And I'm trying to like reconcile my perception and judgment with theirs. So that's like 4 dimensions of knowledge, right? Or 4 dimensions of understanding right there. Knowledge being only 2
part of it.
Perception and judgment. So I wanted to offer that to see if it helps clarify some of the epistemological crises we seem to be running up against. And then I wanted to also, let me find it, share this. Dabrowski assigns the crucial directive role to higher emotions. And so the other day when I was talking about what's the difference between emotion and spirituality, this concept of higher emotions, and I talked about the deep self, which depth, height, depth, whatever, it's something beyond the immediate.
Yeah.
They are highly complex mental dynamisms, a kind of psychological compound which unite intellectual and intuitive insights with affective involvement and commitment. This concept of higher emotion seems to deal with the psychological aspects of the power called synderesis by St. Thomas Aquinas. So it was that idea that our superficial emotions can be combined, or maybe there's deeper or higher emotions beneath or beyond them to create more complex, what he calls mental dynamisms that maybe approach what I think people might be talking about when they say spiritual. Confused.
I think that's fair. And for what it's worth, I think broadly, on our conversation the other day, I think I understood. I think it was mostly Hank who
he was oddly making a lot of sense that day.
Yeah, no, he was. I do think he was. It was actually, yeah. I mean, it's not odd. I don't know Hank that well, so I guess I can't say it was odd. But
yeah, for me, it was a little. I don't like that. What is it? The depth of experience and wisdom and stuff. That to see it come from him in that way was very striking.
I mean, I think it's just people all have like different experiences. So sometimes some people have a remarkable amount of experience in some areas that you maybe would not expect.
I make a living on my experience.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I do too. I do too. Though my experience is less people oriented than yours is, I can imagine.
I have a lot of experience with people. I've dealt with thousands and thousands of them in my life. And conflict as well. A ton of experience with that.
Just broadly don't like people, so it's just like.
Are you an introvert? Oh, we talked about this before. Huh?
Yeah, I'm reasonably introverted.
You have a battery that drains.
Yeah. Oh yeah. very, very quickly.
I get recharged.
Except with, there's a few people that it doesn't drain with, but even then, it only doesn't drain because we're both introverted. So like, we'll hang out
You
together.
know how to like respect each other's.
Oh yeah,
needs.
Yeah, that's I think important, just kind of broadly as a human, is noticing other people's needs and addressing them, at least when you're in the context of like it's someone that you love and care about. Jeff, you'd be proud of me. I'm playing my colonization game right now.
Which one?
Total War Empire.
It's a video one?
Yeah, it's a video game.
I still want to learn to work Tabletop Simulator so we can play Cosmic Encounter.
Oh, I somewhat know how to play. I mean, I guess
can't figure out how to set it up. I can't figure out the controls and how to manipulate the cards.
I mean, it's kind of annoying, but it's mostly just like learning the UI. I can help you. I have Tabletop. I have Tabletopia. If you have, or hang on, which
I have it on Steam.
Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have Tabletop Simulator.
Well, then maybe we can do a tutorial one day.
Yeah, we probably can. If you have like, I assume it's like the game is in like the workshop or whatever. It's like a thing you downloaded.
It's on Steam. I just pull it up through Steam.
Yeah, it's probably like you got it through the workshop, and then.
Does it cost very much? How much does it cost?
I think it was like $20.
Yeah, I don't know how much it is right now.
The thing about Cosmic Encounter is only one person has to have it. They can invite other players, but the players don't have it themselves.
Actually, just I think Tabletop Simulator doesn't require everyone to have it, right?
Oh,
I think.
So as long as I have it, everyone can play.
Well,
Yeah, some of them I think. And there's also, have you ever played any of those Jackbox games?
Yeah. Oh my God.
I love
we had a
Jackbox.
Twitter group that would do Jackbox all the time. I love Jackbox.
hold your finger on it.
I've been trying to get a Jackbox group.
Open link.
We were trying to get a gaming group going in this community in addition to the little movie club we have. But so far, I was the only one really interested in it.
Oh, I mean, I love playing games.
Try on the laptop or something. No.
In fact, my main issue is that I love playing weird and wacky games, and like everyone like I'll like get with like my polycule and be like, all right, I know we've been playing, D&D 5th edition for the last like 3 years. Can we please try this one weird RPG system that no one's ever heard of that is really hyper specific? And they're like, no.
Have you played the Jeep Form games out of Scandinavia?
Cheap.
Yeah. I want to try them so bad, and I can't find anybody to try them with. Here, let me put this link. They're like these really intense psychodrama RPGs.
Is Nordic games
Here, in fact, I'll put it in the main chat in case anybody watching is interested.
Is it a? I just found Leaving Mundania Inside the World.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so it's like a interesting.
Like you play characters and you play aspects of other people play aspects of your own psyche, and it gets really intense.
That does sound really cool.
Oh, cool! So it's like a what's the name of that game? Oh, I just played it not that long ago. This is a really great RPG. It's like you might like it, Liv. It's very socialist leaning, but the game itself is great. It's Disco Elysium.
Wait,
the video game?
Yeah, Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium is amazing. It's one of the best games I've ever played.
I have heard that Disco Elysium is like basically one of the greatest games of all time, and I should definitely play it. And I probably will eventually in like 6 years. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people who like go back and just replay the same games that I've been playing for the same 10 years.
I was like that about Disco Elysium. I'm telling you, like, just give it if you can.
I'll try it
out. If you get into the first hour of it, you'll if it's the first hour.
Oh no, I totally will.
Kind of sloppy game. It's cheap right now too,
Yeah.
and believe me, it's completely worth it. And you can play through it like 8 different times and have a different playthrough every time.
Oh yeah.
And like it actually touches on things about political. It'll actually like align you politically depending on how your things are being towards socialism or towards fascism and all that stuff like that.
There's a
It's really
there's a YouTuber I really like who he constantly brings up fucking Disco Elysium, especially in actually one of
Is
his.
that Max Duroc?
No, it's H Bomber guy.
H Bomber guy, yeah.
Yeah,
He's a big fan of it too.
Yeah,
And,
it was
and
actually,
I like H Bomber guy whenever he's talking about video game stuff a lot.
yeah. Oh no, I mean he's great. I always keep fucking rewatching his video on the game starts with a P. Not Pandemic.
Oh, it's the one about the town with the pandemic thing.
With the plague.
The plague thing. Yeah, no, I played that game too, and it's
Have
really,
you played it?
Really hard.
Okay,
It's so hard to get into.
Well,
man. It's just like-
apparently there's the second one that's like really good.
the second one's the one I played more of. I tried to play the first one, I couldn't get very far at all.
Yeah.
The second one I have on Xbox, and I try to play it a little bit more. But man, it's so technical and complex. It's just like it gives me stress because it overwhelms me with choices. But I can't remember the name of it is right now either. But it's really good. But he does a great breakdown of it. But no, Disco Elysium, man, I'm telling you, it's not even that long once you actually get into it. It's like 10 hours or so.
That's perfect. That's perfect for replayability.
It's so good, and there's so many different aspects of it you can get into. But the thing about it is like what you were talking about, Jeff. The reason I mentioned it was because like the different characters, like whereas most games you have like traits and stuff you upgrade, as you go through the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like in RPGs, you might have like your strength or this or that. Well, in this game, you have different aspects of your personality, different aspects of your psyche that you can increase or decrease as the game goes, and those aspects of your psyche will become more vocal depending on how strong they are. So you could have like an aspect of yourself that is really like about your inner sense of like confidence in yourself or something like that. And that part, your ego will become like have more of an inner dialogue with you, and you'll have like, and it's so brilliant the way it pulls it off. Like it's just no other game's ever done it with this sense, and no other game has ever done it ever. I mean, it's just something that no other game has ever done. But so I really like that. I really like this link that you sent. Like I'm really like it. I really like that idea. It seems like it's kind of like a live action role playing version of Disco Elysium, and I think that's amazing.
That and even that like reminds me like the way you're talking about Disco Elysium, a little bit like the way that at least I view things like alignment in like things like Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of people view alignment as like I am lawful good, therefore I will do X, which is the opposite way, I think, to look at alignment. The way you should look at alignment is, I do X, therefore I am this alignment. So it's not like it's not a it's a descriptive thing, not a prescriptive thing. There we go.
Yeah,
I was never a big fan of alignment in D&D, but it's built into some of the mechanics, and you lose a lot.
It depends on the system. It depends on the system, actually. So like I know Pathfinder 2e, which is like everyone I know has moved away from 5th edition D&D to Pathfinder, and the 2nd edition Pathfinder basically doesn't care about alignment hardly at all.
What was the name of that one we were looking at, Jeff? So like, because I mean, you might even be interested in like the idea.
The one where you wanted to do your socialist communist game.
Yeah. We want to do it. We want to do a role playing game with like someone who really believes in socialist and type things. We want to create one where you actually go through as the revolutionary, and you actually get to be in power, and then you have to make choices.
Oh God!
And to actually demonstrate.
Oh God! Don't even like get me started. Do you know how many of those like kinds of games I have participated in / run as a DM?
Oh, really?
So too many. It's interesting. Yeah, no. Actually, the book that my girlfriend is writing right now is based off of some of our characters for like this like world that we built, and like the my character was basically a class traitor. She was like the heir to the throne of the empire, and like decides to fucking tear it down. And there were different variations of it, and like some of them went okay, and some of them were just like piss poor because it's D&D. You know, sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not. Yeah. But her book is the story that she has developed for this is so much better. Oh my gosh. I love that kind of like ability to like turn that into that kind of storytelling.
I mean, I want to do it not just like to prove to one side or the other that like how like impossible socialism or communism is, but I want to see if anybody can actually navigate through it and like actually show how it can be possible. Like I literally am in the middle on that. Like if somebody could demonstrate to me a way that they could be done without fascistic type tendencies coming into it, that without people like being forced to do this or that, I'd like to hear those ideas.
I don't think you can. I think you can present
Yeah,
I think you can present a good argument within a world for it. However, I do think that like part of the issue is with like using it as actual like, quote unquote proof is that like the big part of that it is in and of itself like material conditions, and like yeah, like I could easily invent a world in which the material conditions made it to where a communist utopia happened easily. I could do that just like that without any thought. Because I'm a world builder. I control the world. I control the material conditions. The more difficult part is in like developing a system that you can like show that reason.
Fate, that's the name of it. There's a role-playing system called Fate.
I couldn't remember the name.
Fate's cool. I like Fate.
That's the one he was thinking about using to.
Fate. It's really flexible for creating different kinds of things. I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna go get the baby a corn dog because that's what she likes.
Hell yeah.
Have MSG.
Probably.
You know they're gross anyway. Like
they're organic ones. They're organic ones that are.
There is no non-gross corn dog. They don't make them. Wieners are gross.
I love corn dogs.
I bought the most organic,
I like the
most
batter.
healthy ones I could.
I'm more concerned about the wiener, but it's your baby.
Well,
I'm only kidding. Feed her. I hope she enjoys it. It's still.
I'll be right back.
For what it's worth, hot dogs are gross as shit. Like what it is gross. A hot dog is delicious, but it's not good. Also, microplastics definitely in hot dogs, but it's in everything. So, like I can't exactly criticize food that
feeds poor people.
I mean, yeah. I fucking love. I have one of my like comfort foods, the easy foods. You know what I'm talking about, like the comfort foods and stuff. The food you like always fall back on. I don't know if you have that kind of stuff, but like for me, like sometimes like just broadly food is revolting. The thought of food is revolting, except for like that one thing. Like for me, sometimes it's a lot of times it's peanut butter sandwiches. Or I have these like frozen corn dogs that are bite size. They're disgusting, but they're so good. And like sometimes, especially like if I have like a really dysregulated day, where I just can't deal. I'm just like, I just need this food to anchor me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also some amount of it's laziness too. They're easy to make.
Like convenience, it's bachelor food. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I eat frozen TV dinners and frozen pizza because I know how to cook them.
Well, see, no, there's plenty of
I
things
can
I
put
know
it
how
in
to
and hit a
cook.
button and go back to my internet.
There's plenty of things I know how to cook, and like I'm decent at cook. Actually, one of the things my dad did teach me really well is how to cook properly certain foods, like mashed potatoes. Um, one of my favorite little like snack foods that I like that it like takes time to like make is sausage balls. Oh my god.
Sausage balls? You
Yeah.
buy them frozen?
No. You make them.
You just roll sausage into a ball?
Well, you
Like a
take
meatball?
well, you take sausage and cheese, and then for me, I use Bisquick, and then you mix that all together, and then roll it into a ball, and then you cook them, and it's sinful. It is sinfully good.
Okay.
My dad and I would take them to like everything. Oh gosh, you're in Seattle. I will bring you a plate of sausage balls.
Actually, I'm one county over. I don't know if it's worth going for a sausage ball.
It's worth me taking you sausage balls. They're so good.
If you knew how to make boudin balls, I would say.
I don't know what those are.
It's a Louisiana dish.
Oh, okay. I look. I only know how to make things that are from like Tennessee. So I can make barbecue.
What is Tennessee's food? Like, what do y'all have? Biscuits and gravy?
I mean, so there is like the standard sort of like Southern kinds of foods. However, where I'm from, specifically Memphis, for us, barbecue is like our
barbecue.
thing.
Yeah, there was a restaurant in Vegas called Memphis Barbecue.
Yeah, Memphis style barbecue is the best barbecue in the world, bar none. You cannot convince me otherwise. I have tried other barbecue, and it's just not as good.
Your sauce is too sweet, though, to me.
It's supposed to be sweet. It's supposed to be sweet.
No,
Sweet and or hot.
No, neither one. I can't do
What?
sugar. I have to have something just savory.
No, we do have some good savory. Actually, there's one place, it's expensive, but the Rendezvous actually has some really good non-sauce, just like savory pork. Oh gosh, it's really good. I've been there. Oh god, that even just thinking about that reminded me of the fact that I grew up wealthy, and it's very fun. It was very funny listening to old Joshua Jones in the chat this morning. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, yeah, I was
okay. Yeah, it was very funny.
Well, he doesn't think like he hangs out with us, and he's like, "Do you consider the stream hanging out?" I thought we were communicating. Well,
I mean,
communication is part of hanging out.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't make a distinction. Oh, we're not hanging out. We're just communicating.
Wait, he makes a distinction between that?
Apparently. He says he's going to come on and talk about it as soon as he gets off of his other racist panel.
Look, I don't even care that he's racist. He's just fucking stupid.
I don't think he's racist. I honestly don't.
I mean, he may or may not be. I don't know. I don't really care. I mean,
okay, I think he is a sociopath, and he's somewhat of a troll.
I'm not okay.
I don't think he cares enough about anybody outside of his immediate sphere to be racist.
That's fair. That's fair. I was gonna say, because like I'm from the South, all right. I have known people who were capital R racist.
Oh yeah, me too. That's why I know how rare it is.
Oh yeah, no. People who are like that virulent are like really rare. Though when they are, they're usually like super racist. Like they're not like their racism never like stops at one group. Like they're like, I hate black people, I hate Jews, I hate gypsies, I hate I hate Italians, I hate the Irish, I hate Catholics. They hate everybody.
And
they hate like
people have the right to hate. Like
no, they do.
Psychology.
They're just wow.
I'd rather know their hatred so I can adjust my life than have them suppress all that.
Adjust my life. Broadly, usually not interact with them as much because they're not as fun people to be around.
Yeah, although I know racists back home in Louisiana that I love. I
Oh,
really
yeah.
enjoy
This isn't
company.
like, in fact, I think like, so the thing is, like, most people are to some degree, especially if you're American. I know you thought I was about to say especially if you're white, but it's especially if you're American. People are broadly some degree of racist. But like most of the times people don't let that get in the way of being a pleasant person to be around. But some people.
This is a good question to ask. Then what is the distinction between racism and just ordinary tribalism, which we all have as
Well,
humans?
racism is about the our concept of race, which at least in the modern world is related to primarily skin color. Yeah, like that's, I mean, racism is a stupid made up thing that humans use. Like, it's not like race isn't real. It's fake. We made it up.
Skin color is.
No, skin color is real, but like
and
the
phenotypical features are.
Yes, but racism, like the that idea of like one race being better than other, or even that
That's
the races.
That's not race. That's supremacy.
Okay, that's
You
true.
can have race without thinking that one of them is superior to another.
That's
and,
true.
And you'd have to like it's superior in certain metrics anyway. There's no universal standard of what's better.
Well, there are definitely some people who were racist who definitely thought that their race was superior in every way.
But also, how is that
even
different from tribalism, where you think your in group is better than your out?
Well, because so tribalism is like the broad word, right? That's like racism is tribalism, but not all tribalism is racism.
Right. So
racism is a kind of
tribalism is just part of our human condition, our primate nature.
Yes. To a certain
extent. Whether it takes the form of racism, sexism, xenophobia, whatever.
Yeah.
Why moralize about it? If it's just something that's natural to us as humans.
Well, okay. So when you say it's natural,
tribalism, in-group, out-group preference.
I think that tribalism is culturally natural to so far every single, culture on the planet. To some extent, to varying degrees. However, I do not believe that we have sufficient information to call it natural, as in like a fundamental part of humanity. It might be a fundamental part of our
even shows up in the animal kingdom, so I'm prepared to accept it as
well. A lot of things show up in the animal kingdom that, like, for instance, we morally denounce, right?
Maybe so, but that's different from the argument of whether it's natural or not. It can be natural, and we can still think it's something that we should morally denounce. But I'm just arguing for the fact that because it's natural, why do some humans try to pretend they've evolved beyond tribalism and then turn around and judge everybody else for being what is ordinary and innate?
Well, there are different kinds of acceptable tribalism within different kinds of societies. So, for instance, racism in America is less acceptable today than it has been in the past. At least open racism, obviously. Like, we can agree there, right?
Unless you're Jewish.
Unless you're Jewish.
We talked about this the other day. Like, it's okay to be openly anti-Semitic now.
I don't believe that it is.
Well, we went through this the other day, so you can just rewind the stream. Like all of the open anti-Semitism that we've been seeing since October 7th.
There is anti-Semitism that we have been seeing. However, it's not like broadly socially acceptable. It's been broadly morally denounced within society, at least that I've seen.
Yeah, we must be looking at.
Sorry, maybe I just run around with like less racist people.
I posted, like, I have a whole Twitter file of just post after post after post of Jewish people getting harassed since October 7th at protests, on campuses, on the street.
I mean, that's bad. It's fucked up. They shouldn't do that. And
what did you think of, like, the there was, like, recently, like, a debate between, you know, Ethan Klein and Hassan. I didn't watch the debate, but I saw Sitch and Adam talk about it.
oh god,
about whether or not From the River to the Sea was anti-Semitic. What do you think about that?
Whether who, what was?
Whether From the River to the Sea is an anti-Semitic dog whistle,
Yeah.
or well, if it's
Not even a dog whistle. It's like
Yeah.
blatantly like kill the Jews.
Are people trying to say it's not? But then they're going
People are trying to say it's not.
Hassan is trying to say it's not, but like Hassan is like a stupid fucking dumb.
Yeah, I don't watch anything with Hassan. By the way, Chris.
Yeah.
I was on Machine. I was all settled in to watch his stream last night, and Tommy shows up. TML makes him a mod on the stream, and so I left. So did Destroyer. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you elevate people like Tommy, you drive out the people that have the potential to contribute way more than Tommy does.
Jack told me that TBE showed up in our chat the other day.
Yeah, he did.
I didn't even know about that.
He just been a troll. We stopped feeding him and he left.
Yeah. Now,
I also figured out if you start talking about things that are really nerdy and over his head, he gets bored and leaves.
Now, as far as like Hassan Piker and Ethan Klein, Hassan Piker's like a stupid dumbass who like is basically accidentally right on domestic issues and is horribly wrong on almost every single.
I just don't like his personality. I can't stand watching him.
I don't watch him, but like I'm aware of his takes, and I mean I think he's broadly correct as far as like domestic U.S. policy, but like any foreign policy, he's just like wrong. He's like a China stan. Like fuck that.
He's also a massive hypocrite. So.
Well, there's like most people. I'm a little more tolerant toward hypocrisy as long as it's not like constant.
Oh, now, yeah, I will say I think his like house thing is like not good and cringe, but I don't think it reaches the level of like constant like hypocrisy, right?
Sure. I mean, I can see that take. I think it's hypocrisy, but yeah.
No, it is hypocrisy. That it is, but it's not like a regular, constant kind of like hypocrisy. He has an opinion, has a take on why he's allowed to get the house, and whether or not I agree with it, he is consistent with that. I think that
Wait, what happened with the house? Like, and should I even care? Is it worth?
It's just that he's pushes for socialism and all this stuff, but he owns a Porsche that's like $2.5 million house. And
yeah. So does Vosh. Like Vosh is the same thing. Instead of talking about arguing against capitalism.
That's why I totally respect Destiny, because Destiny claims to be a capitalist, and he pushes capitalist talking points, even if he has a lot of some social things I don't necessarily agree with, but I think he's overall he's a consistent person. But like whenever you're like a multi-millionaire who is pushing for socialism, and yet you're buying like these insanely expensive things. If he was doing like more of the Bernie Sanders type thing and owned a sensible car, and just a house that was big enough, was big enough for what he needed.
Destiny's always been a classist, as far as I'm concerned. That's why I don't respect him, but I do respect him recently because of his position on Israel. Like he's making the same arguments that I am, and I don't even like the guy.
No, I mean I'm not. Look, I'm a Voshite, so like I'm not really a fan of Destiny. Except I actually did really his debate with JonTron is one of the I guess like defining moments that really like shook me in like the alt-right pipeline. Shook me out of it. Really. So like I do think that's positive.
She just eats them one at a time. Might be one.
So that's interesting. So then, like, if the right person comes along and makes the right case in the right way, you could be shaken out of your anti-capitalism as well.
Well, yeah, that's how.
So
that's how
what are
all
your?
my
That's
opinions.
when I said you were young. It wasn't an insult. Just developmentally, you haven't completely formed all of your values and principles yet.
I would hope that I never would say that I could never have my mind changed on topics other than like obviously things that are like about like objective fact, right? Like the Earth is
Like a flat earther.
Yeah, the Earth is a spherical object suspended in space. Okay, that is true, and I would hope.
What if Vosh argued otherwise?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that like what he can argue.
Man,
Sure.
flat Earth is over anyway. It's donut Earth forever.
Donut Earth. No.
A lot of the streams are flat earthers. I found out. FlowState's a flat earther.
Trapezoidal Earth.
FlowState's a flat Earther?
Yes, I had the same reaction. I told him he's too smart for that.
I don't even, I'm speechless on that. I can't even talk about it.
I don't get it either because I align with him on almost everything else. 99.9% of his positions, except for the trolls.
Well, my point being, Jeff, that I know enough to know that I don't know everything. So
this anti-capitalism is just contingent and could change.
I mean, yeah, all of my opinions are contingent.
Okay, so there's hope for you to become an enlightened centrist.
That's, I mean, yeah. If I could be convinced that is the position that would further my moral axioms the best, then yes, that would. I would change my.
Well, could you see at least that, like, being a socialist right now, whenever socialism is so far outside of any kind of realistic kind of becoming, is it possible that you could see that, like, it probably makes more sense to take a quote unquote enlightened centrist position until those material conditions, as you put them, are right, whereas those things, I mean, even if you're kind of like, you might be a socialist or communist underneath it all, at the same time it makes little sense to hold those positions when they're not even remotely possible.
That might be the case, except that I value honesty and openness, and I don't think I could like that would, to me, come across as me lying if I were to be like, oh no, I'm just an enlightened centrist.
Well, no, I mean, you wouldn't have to lie about it. You could still state it as your current political
We'll
position.
let you know when you're enlightened.
Oh, you'll
I'm just asking, not because I'm trying to convince you.
No.
Because I'm just curious about your flexibility on that. That's all.
I mean, like, sure, I guess. I just, like, my thing is, I think that it is good to move the Overton window to the left towards my positions, for me to be openly at least a socialist. As far as, like, I mean, in my average I don't like go around in my average everyday calling myself a communist. Normally, when if I do to like a person on the street, I would usually describe myself as a socialist, because that's where, I guess, the zeitgeist in America.
What about honesty? If you're a communist, just openly and honestly be a communist.
Well, because when because it's important to understand the context in which you're talking. And here in America today, communism has, like, especially with your average American, has a very specific connotation. And I want to hit the connotation that I'm going for, right? So, like, yeah, on this stream, when I'm talking to, like, y'all who I have a reasonable expectation that you'll understand what I'm talking about when I call myself a communist, I will call myself a communist. However, your average person on the street, I don't know if they say if I say communist, they think I'm going to be like I'm pro the Chinese government.
I don't go around talking to average people on the street anyway, so I really don't know. Maybe you're right. What I suspect is that you're choosing these positions more for psychological reasons than sociological and political ones. But I would say that about many, many people.
It's fair.
Another thing I wanted to go over today, I was kind of waiting for Joshua to get here, but he can always comment on it later. Noah Smith did a new post on, we talk about like the military industrial complex, and I know Paul is real big on that and a lot of the conspiracists. But he calls it the arsenal of democracy. And I'll just read a little bit. He said, imagine that you grew up and lived your whole life protected by an invisible magical shield that kept out the armies of foreign conquerors. The shield had been there before you were born, and there was no reason to think it ever wouldn't be there. It was simply a background fixture of your universe. And then one day, imagine that this invisible shield vanished. You wouldn't notice right away. And the conquerors lurking patiently behind that shield might also take a while to realize that your land now lay open and vulnerable to their armies. You would go about your life for a while unaware that anything important had changed. If you live in a democratic country, I worry that this pretty much describes the situation you're in right now. And then he has a chart that I want to share. One of the reasons for America's success, this is the democracies back in 1850, and then you could see that they're like almost half of countries are democratic now.
Yep.
And one reason for that success is the U.S. This was the weapon production during World War II. And the U.S. was built like, he says the U.S. was by far the biggest producer, building twice as many large ships as all other combatants combined, and at least twice as many aircraft. So the U.S. was responsible for a lot of these numbers.
Yeah.
And now we've dropped to like a tenth of that. And China has way more ability to outproduce us militarily. And he calls that the arsenal of democracy. And the U.S. is no longer leading in that.
Well, for what it's worth, I don't think the U.S. should be singularly leading in.
I want us to be. I want us to be what we were in that chart, where we were out, like we were the primary producer of those numbers, because that means when there's a war, we have the ability to produce what we need to defend. And
yeah.
When I hear people like, throw shade at the military industrial complex and all that, and I didn't realize our production power has dropped as low as it did. And that makes me even more supportive of, if they call it the military industrial complex, because I think that's one of our strengths.
Part of the reason why our production has fallen is because that we don't have a need to produce shitloads of equipment, because like, okay,
but even if that need arose, we don't have the capacity to anymore, and China does.
Well, that's also partly because of us moving a lot of our production.
Right here from Business Insider, China has the capacity to build PLA combat ships at 200 times the rate that the U.S. can per leaked Navy intelligence.
That's fair, but also, like, are you really worried about a hot war with China?
I just think it's an asset that we didn't have to relinquish.
I mean, I'm not, like I said the other day, like I think the idea that China wants to invade and control the U.S. is preposterous, because I don't think China wants any part of this shit.
Yeah,
they don't want it.
I think someone said the other day that we're interdependent at this point, and I think we are. And I don't think
like China needs us for their economy to stay stable. So if they were to invade and try to take over us, they wouldn't have anything to they would make.
Like, it would just collapse their economy, and then nothing good would happen. Like, the closest thing we have to a conflict with China right now is Taiwan. And honestly, like, gonna be real, there's almost a zero chance that China invades Taiwan. So like, it's not even like
I
it's
wouldn't say it's almost zero, but I do think it's pretty low though.
they don't have like the military capabilities to effectively uh uh invade Taiwan, especially considering that we're their ally. Like if they were to invade, like if hypothetically, this is like the only potential between a hot war between the United States and China is Taiwan, and if that were to occur, China would get their faces kicked in. Like
Maybe.
their amphibious forces are completely like they haven't fought in a war. In their military has not fought in a war in a long time. And our military has been in conflicts all over the place, all the time. And it's important to not understate how much experience, especially at your top levels, matters.
Maybe. Although they get plenty of practice in like doing military actions of their own citizens though. So
Well, but that's not. I wouldn't call that's not like real military actions. That's policing actions, which is fucked up and evil, but like not the same kind as like a hot war.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I admit that, but I'm just saying like it's not like they get no use out of it. But yeah.
Yeah, no. They do get use out of their military. Just most of it's either domestic or it's like regional. Most of their power is like regional because that's what they care about, right? Like that regional and to a certain extent Africa, which also, by the way, is something that the West has absolutely like left. Like we fucked up Africa and then we left Africa, and now China and Russia are in Africa, and now they're gonna fuck up Africa. And like, why the fuck couldn't we have just fixed what we did in Africa instead of like just like leaving them to China and Russia? I don't know. Like,
I think if we got to worry about anybody militarily, it's probably Canada anyway.
I ain't worried about this.
We don't know anything about Canada. We don't know really what Canada's military capabilities are. Nobody even asks. Nobody even cares. They could have nuclear missile silos and shit. We don't even know. Nobody looks at Canada, and there's so many of them in this country. What if they're all sleeper agents? They all get activated all at once. Think about it.
True.
We could be taken over like that.
Yep. Now this xenophobia I can get behind.
It would be like the most polite takeover in all of like insurgents in all history.
God.
Oh, you're my servant now, eh?
But yeah, no, the whole China stuff. I'm not worried about a hot war with China. I know like fucking everyone my age is always like, oh, I'm worried about the draft, and it's like I don't.
Really? I wasn't even worried about that in my age, and I had to register, and I still wasn't worried.
Yeah, I mean, I had to register, and I don't care.
Yeah, we all had to register for selective service, but
Yeah,
I mean,
like-
I already knew my allergies were too bad for me to ever have to go to war, so I wasn't too worried.
Yeah, and I mean, like honestly, like as stupid as it sounds, like I do think if the United States attempted another draft, we would get what happened in Vietnam, but worse. Unless like the mainland United States was invaded, any draft would basically be mass protested. Like
if the mainland United States got invaded and that's something that lasted more than like 10 seconds before we nuked our own city to get rid of it,
yeah,
because we would.
We definitely would.
But if that happened, I don't think they'd even have to do a draft. I think people would sign up voluntarily. I think the military people. I mean, America's still got that America spirit to it. Even a lot of lefties and like even a lot of liberal anti-war people, I think, would sign up for the military overnight. I think they'd show up and be like fuck the commies or whatever it is that are raiding our country. You know?
I'm patriotic for Americans. I don't really care about like the state, but I do care about the people who live here, like in the same place as me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm patriotic about. I'm patriotic about Americans.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's what you'd be fighting for. You wouldn't be fighting if they invaded our soil. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. If we got invaded on our own soil, that's
yeah.
why people would sign up.
Yeah.
Signing up for a foreign war. Yeah, it's not
I-
something like. I wouldn't even be eligible at this point. I'm too old and have too many melodies to bother. But even if we got invaded on our own soil, even I'd be tempted to join and be like fuck whoever it is that's invading us. You know, I mean, because I do care about Americans.
Yeah.
But and Juniper cares all about her food as long as her snacks don't get disrupted. She's okay. She is into her dinner.
That is one of the things that I like. It kind of irritates me whenever I get told, whenever I criticize America, like, oh, if you hate it so much here, why don't you just fucking leave? And it's like,
I never got the impression you hate America. I know you hate capitalism, and America is a capitalist country. It's probably not going to change in your lifetime.
well, yeah, no.
But I never did get the impression that you hate America.
Well, don't worry. For a lot of people, they don't have to get the impression that I hate America to say that I hate America. People are stupid.
Well, but isn't that the same thing you're doing with billionaires? Like, if somebody is in the category of billionaire, you're automatically judging them as something, and they're doing the same thing to you just based on a label that they hear.
Well, it's not so much a label as to what they are. Like, billionaires more than a label. Like, I could call myself a billionaire, but I wouldn't make myself a billionaire.
The information you have about them is that they're billionaire. That they're a billionaire.
Yeah. What if there was a lottery? What if there was a lottery big enough, like a national lottery, and it actually gave out $1 billion for the prize?
Then that would be the singularly morally acquired $1 billion.
Unless you think gambling is immoral, I guess, which I don't.
I don't think gambling is immoral.
I don't either. I'm just saying. Like,
Yeah,
I guess unless you did, I mean,
like,
so it's just being a billionaire isn't the problem. It's how you view as like the way they got to be a billionaire, and I guess
yes. And there's not really a way to morally become a billionaire, at least in the sense of like where you're not exploiting people, like exploiting.
I mean, I think there are ways.
But again,
something has happened.
I asked this the other day, and I didn't get an answer. How is it exploitation if it's voluntary?
Okay, I'm gonna use this analogy again, Jeff, and we'll see if we get there. Okay. So let's start with, if I come up to you and I point a gun at you and I say, "Give me your wallet," are you voluntarily giving me your wallet?
Is that what capitalism is doing to people?
Can you answer my question?
What is the gun that they're pointing at people?
Can you answer my question?
To understand your analogy, I need to understand what the gun is that capitalism is pointing at people. That makes it not voluntary.
Death. Yes. Death is what, death, starvation, living outside of society without money without participation in society, that is the gun. You're right, FlowState.
Who does not have the option to participate, other than prisoners, I guess, or maybe some minors? Who does not have the opportunity to participate in our capitalistic system? Anybody can participate in it. Anybody can be enterprising, start a business. Anybody can go out and get a job.
Jeff, it is not that people lack the opportunity. It is not that people lack the opportunity to participate in the system. It is that people are forced to participate in the system to survive.
How are they forced?
Okay, Jeff.
Maybe you're using a different definition of force than I am.
Okay, Jeff. How does one get food in America? What is the easiest way to get food in America?
Probably to go out and buy it.
Okay, how
you have to have some source of income, either from a job, self-employment.
Now, self-employment is typically
acquiring resources.
Well, but it's the way in which you acquire those resources. So, for instance,
why does it matter as long as it's not criminal or illegal? There's plenty of opportunities to acquire resources here in America, in our capitalist country.
Yes. However, most people in the system are not given the opportunity to
Yeah.
pay for
How are they not given the opportunity?
Okay,
That's what I understand.
okay, so
Well,
Larry,
come on and school this fool, please. We need you.
please. I'd love for a
Who,
dumbass.
who does not have? I used to work in disability employment, and I know how to overcome barriers to employment that you think people are facing. So there are services that, like, if you have certain employment barriers, even that is not preventing you from participating.
Can you
in
let
the
me
market.
fucking talk, Jeff, without like trying to
Do
talk?
I get to talk too?
But like, you ask me a question and then you continue.
Now, you two, calm down.
Like,
Calm
who's
down.
running the stream here?
But like, you ask me a question.
I
and then
am at the moment, I think.
Okay, go ahead and answer it then.
Am I going to be able to answer it, Jeff?
Yeah, answer it.
Okay.
Hi, flat earther.
Hey guys,
No, that's not me. Yeah, go ahead and let him answer his
I knew who
question.
he was talking to.
We have a capitalist expert on here after he answers.
Average capitalism enjoyer. So
Keeps that into his phone.
I mean,
Wait, I told him I'd let him answer his question, so go ahead.
okay. So what we are talking about is people being free to not participate within the system is what I am discussing. So like that would be like, for instance, one example of this is self-employment. Self-employment is a way in which people don't participate in the system of working for a capitalist, because working for, like, when you work for someone else, they are, in a Marxist sense, okay? There are two senses of the word exploit that I'm using. I'm using it in both a colloquial sense and a Marxist sense. In the Marxist sense, all employment is necessarily exploitative, in that you work for somebody else and they give you money. However, that money is necessarily lower than the value that you produce for that person. That is how work happens in capitalism. Okay? Fundamentally.
But it's higher than your alternative. So both parties are better off.
I still don't understand if it's voluntary how it's exploitation, especially if they have the option to do self-employment, like you just said.
So now we want to talk about self-employment, which is, while technically it is an option for everybody, practically it's not an option for everybody. We agree there, right? Like, practically.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree. If I can do self-employment, anybody can.
No. It's not that. I mean that, like, practically we could not have like half of people in America be self-employed. I guess
Nobody is prohibited from being self-employed. However, some people's life circumstances don't always allow them to be. I would agree with that. Just like nobody's prohibited from walking, some people just can't do it.
Well, but see, here's the difference, okay? So, about walking, that's what you're talking about, like, some people are, like, fucking paralyzed, right? You know? Like, they literally, physically can't.
Right.
Okay? Whereas, you know, people can be self-employed. Like, literally, we could literally have whoever wants to be self-employed get to be self-employed.
We do have that.
We could as a society remove all barriers to all, like, conceivable barriers to self-employment and let whoever
So
wants
which barrier do you think is there that needs to be removed for everybody to equally be able to be self-employed?
Well, capital is a big one.
So people, well, I mean, not even necessarily. I'm self-employed. I did it straight out of jail. I had no capital. So that's not even true. If you've got a few $1,000s in a pickup truck.
Well, hang on. No. The few $1,000s in the pickup truck is fucking capital, dude. What?
Okay, you're right. So everybody needs a bare minimum to go into business. If you're destitute and living in a refrigerator box on the street, you're not going to be able to start a business. I agree with that. That said, to say that we can remove the barriers for these people means that we should give them money. That bestows an obligation on somebody else. So whose money? Who do you think is responsible for the refrigerator box person to give him a truck?
hold on. Growing up, we used to have this homeless lady with a shopping cart that would sit outside the grocery store and make dolls out of popsicle sticks and sell them, and people would give her like $1 for them, and she'd pull out this big wad of cash and add the $1 to it. People that live in refrigerator boxes absolutely can.
Absolutely. There's a panhandler I used to buy cigarettes off of who would, at the end of his shift would get in had his girlfriend would pick him up in an Escalade.
That is psychotically anecdotal. That is. I'm not talking.
What does
about
psychotically anecdotal mean? Come on, you're being hyperbolically.
I am absolutely being hyperbolic because it's very silly that you would like use that one anecdote to like.
If I were in a
I've got
refrigerator
1,000 of them.
needed money, I could find something
Okay,
creative. to do.
Flo, if you have
Dude,
1,000,
I don't accept that.
Flo, if you have
that's
1,000
barrier to
anecdotes, then
self-employment.
put them into a study, and then
I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm just going to explain them to you, but you don't want to hear them.
Then I don't give a shit about your anecdotes.
Okay, well, I don't give a shit about anything else you have to say here then.
It's a flow state. I could say anecdotes.
I don't care. I still don't care. Don't care.
Right, exactly. So
If you don't want to hear about my anecdotes, I don't want to hear about your little whiny opinions. You believe in Marxism. It's a philosophy of envy. You are envious and you want other people's money to do what you want with it. And you try to put it as a virtue. It's not. You're just greedy and selfish and useless.
Are you done?
It doesn't matter. You don't care what I have to say.
Yeah, Jeff, see, this is what I was like, I guess, like talking about, like talking with people like this about this topic. I don't really have any desire.
Well, it seems like you're arguing about anecdotes. Like you're not even arguing about the content of the conversation. You're arguing about the meta structure of the conversation.
I do think it's important to talk about the meta structure.
Do you want to try again, guy? Let's try again, guy.
I do think it's important to talk about the metastructure of.
I know I watch FlowState's show, and I know that he has a lot to offer on this topic.
Sure. So then maybe he'll say something less retarded than like putting words in my mouth.
Okay, maybe we could stay away
Let's
from.
try
like,
again,
the
guys. This will be our
derogatory
third
comments and,
restart.
name
Yeah.
calling and stuff. We're all above name
Okay.
calling here, so let's not do that. Okay.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. Restart. You tell us how you're virtuous for wanting to give away people's money. I'll be quiet.
Okay, no, I'm not going to talk to this guy about this. I'm sorry. Like, if this is the way the conversation is going to go with the flow state, I fucking have zero desire. I will talk to Jeff about it, but.
Well, you know, if you're going to advocate for this, you need to be able to defend your positions against people like FlowState. You're going to encounter them. This is good practice.
No, I have plenty of times. I'm sick of it. I don't. It's like the struggle of getting my ideas across is not worth it in this instance. Like
This is why you can't survive in a capitalist economy, because you don't want to struggle at all for anything.
Come on.
All right.
Jeff.
Well, I've muted myself. So if you want to say your piece, I'm muting myself, or you can keep talking to Jeff about me.
Like, I'll talk to people about this, but
I still don't understand how it's exploitation if it's
Sure.
voluntary.
Okay.
That's what
So
I'm caught up.
You're
trying to frame it as involuntary because there's no other option but to work for an employer, and I don't even accept that.
Sure. So first off, again, if we can back up to the Marxist definition of exploitation, it is like all capitalism is like definitionally exploitation in the Marxist sense, which is that when you work for somebody else, in this case a capitalist, who then gives you money in exchange for that labor, and that money that you get is always going to be less than the value that your labor adds to whatever you're doing, right? Do we agree that is how capitalism works?
We did this yesterday with genocide. What happens if I don't accept the definition of capitalism or the UN definition of genocide? Where does that leave us in the conversation?
Well, no. This is how capitalism works. You can say.
No, you just said you opened this by saying according to the Marxist definition of. And what if I don't accept the Marxist definition of? We haven't been able to define our terms.
Well, no. So rather, when I say exploitation, this is what I am talking about.
But I don't agree that that applies to capitalism as
Well,
I
that
experience it in the United States.
is the
You're
way.
insisting that it
capital-
is.
No. That's not like, okay. Is there ever a
Like,
situation?
I don't have to accept Marx as an authority.
No, but what I'm saying is the way capitalism works is you have a worker who is hired by a capitalist to do labor, and then they are compensated, and that compensation always,
Right, and they agree to that.
always.
They could go find somebody else to work for. Like, that's
Well,
all voluntary.
Sure, I'm not talking about the voluntarism right now. What I'm talking about is what it is.
So I would agree that that is how Marxism defines it. I would disagree that that is exploitation. I would
Sure,
say it's a mutually beneficial relationship, but within the narrow realm of Marxism, yeah, that is how they define it. I personally reject that definition.
The reason
I think that definition, in reality, it can get pushed to the point where it becomes exploitative, especially if the employer is lying, or lies, or is hiding things from the employee and uses their labor like in ways without their knowledge and things like that. Yes, I think that it can be exploitative, but the fact that the idea that it's exploitative on its face is ridiculous to me, because
So-
it's not. If it is, it's agreed upon, and there's lots of forms of agreed upon exploitation in the world that aren't,
Yeah.
you could say like are bad in a sense, but at the same time, like both parties want them and there's a
Yeah,
relationship.
I've never felt
exploitative.
exploited by an employer, ever. I worked there because I wanted to. I left if I didn't. Like, I've never felt forced to work for an employer or exploited by one.
I mean, for what it's worth, I have also never, like, I guess, felt exploited.
So do we
However,
agree that? Sorry, go ahead.
Actually, no, I wasn't actually going to really continue on anything notably.
So can we agree that the Marxist view of exploitation and the employer-employee relationship is a paradigm that is not reflective of reality?
No, it is reflective of reality. However, like,
Whose reality?
No, you may not. So I guess the issue we're running into is that you take issue with the fact that I call it exploitation.
I do. That definitely has a negative connotation, and it describes something that none of us have experienced in our life. So I don't see how that's even accurate.
Well, you always, like, every time you work for someone, they're always, like, if you work for somebody else, they will always be paying you less than the value that your labor brings.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Not even always. Sometimes you, as an employer, you risk losing money to the job. Sometimes employers lose out on the job. But regardless of that, it's, if everything works out well, it should be mutually beneficial for all parties. So yes, the employer makes more off of you than they pay you, but also you make more than you would have otherwise, and you have additional benefits like not having to risk your own money on the job, or the leisure of not having to stress.
Well, depending on the company, they might not even be risking their own money. Cough, cough. Banks getting bailed out.
I mean, that happens in capitalism. I mean, those things are definitely, they can be considered problems, but it's not a problem with the overall system. It's a problem with people that exploit the system.
Yes.
Who sets the value of my labor? Because if I agree to work for like $20 an hour, I am setting the value of that labor. That's what it's worth to me.
So basically, now we're going to get into the theories of value of labor.
Is this going to be nerd?
It might.
Look at the entire retail system. Look at the system of, like, where someone buys someone in wholesale, and there's a manufacturer, and someone buys something from that, and then they buy it in bulk because they can afford that, and then they sell it in a higher rate, and smaller parcel size, where it can actually be handled and distributed, where that gets sold higher to the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So, you could say that that's exploitative, because, like, every aspect of it, it's getting sold for more than it's worth, right? But without some profit incentive, there would be no market at all.
Well,
so now the alternative is no market, is nobody wins.
Interestingly, The alternative is not no market. The interesting thing is it's that the profit incentive. It's a market without a profit incentive.
What would that be? How would that even work?
I mean, we have, I guess, examples of this on like a smaller scale, which is like basically small communities who, like, you know, produce things. One person produces one thing, and then, hey, I need the thing, so you give them the thing, and then.
But there's a reason that doesn't scale. That doesn't scale.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It works really well in small communities, but whenever you get past a certain point, even those small communities don't even want to grow past that point because they know it doesn't work.
Yes, and that is partially why, when it comes to, like, I guess, post-capitalism, the actual, like, I am what it's I guess agnostic about the post-capitalist system. I don't know what the exact the ideal post-capitalist system would be. I don't think we're even vaguely fucking there. Like,
why do you worry about something that's probably not even going to happen in your lifetime or your grandchildren?
Or why do you advocate for? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut your question. Go ahead and answer him.
Why do I care about this in the immediate sense? Because I think it's important that we be talking about this the entire
time. If it's not going to happen in our lifetimes, why is it important to talk about?
Because it's always important to move in the direction of progress.
You don't know what direction you're moving in.
Yeah, no. Well, okay, no. Okay, I do know which direction I'm moving in. I don't know where we are going to end up, but I do know.
You're trying to move away from free market economy.
I am trying to move away from unregulated free markets.
Well, it is regulated.
Well, it is for now. There are people absolutely who would like to reverse that, but which is
so you think that just more control and more structure, more centralization, less freedom?
Not necessarily, because I do believe that a lot of our regulation in the United States, at least, while some of it should be done on a federal level, I do think there is a significant amount of that. I think we have some of our priorities messed up, in that I think there are some things that we do at the federal level that we should be doing at lower local levels, and there are some things we do at lower local levels that we should be doing at higher federal levels.
But that's the minutia. Ultimately,
that is the minutia.
Ultimately, this discussion is between more freedom to the individual or more power to centralization. Do you agree?
So no, because what's interesting is if you remove guardrails, which I would argue that, like, things like regulations in their ideal.
Hang on. No one's talking about removing them. You said you want more of it, but nobody talked about deregulating. You have this fear that
FlowState is talking
like you
about.
said, there are some people pushing for it, but I don't. That's not something I'm worried about, or none of us on the panel have said that we are.
Well,
so, I mean, like, assuming we leave the regulation where it is, why do we need more?
Well, I do believe that we need more, because the circumstances of capitalism have shown that there are definitely things that we haven't been regulating in the past that we then moving forward should regulate. For instance, like the 2008 financial crisis was due to either miss or under regulation.
No, it was due to socialist policy. It was due to every home deserves a house. Everybody should own a house. It was due to exactly the sort of shit that you support. The Clinton era, easy money for home loans for junk borrowers created the balloon. There was too many loans going out, too many houses being bought by people who can't afford them.
Yes, but
all the bad borrowing debt got hidden and rebundled and repackaged and shipped out, and then it collapsed. All of it is due to socialistic policies.
Wait, no, but who was doing that? Who was doing the rebundling and the repackaging? Capitalist market.
People who are exploiting the system.
The politicians created the problem in the first place. Yeah, capitalist markets had to figure out what to do with the shit ball that government gave them.
Capitalist markets were exploiting the unregulated shitball that was created. I'm not saying that like
This is a government shitball.
okay, yes, I'm not saying that everything the government makes is good. What I'm saying
It's almost always not.
Okay, like that's just not correct. That's just
What's your favorite government product?
my favorite government product is the fact that we give single mothers money, and that it like produces for every dollar we spend in it, it like pays us back $7.
Where the fuck did you get that from?
Wick.
Oh yeah, imagine that.
Doesn't really give us money though. Like we're on Wick, and I mean it does give us formula. And after a certain point, when the mother's breastfeeding, it will give you cheese and some produce stuff. But after that, it simply only gives you formula and baby food, and it doesn't really help you financially, except that you have to buy formula, which is very expensive. And I don't discount them for that, but it does not give single mothers money.
I advocate for a massive expansion of WIC because it is.
No, I do too.
It is absolutely like it is without a shadow of a doubt like the example of probably one of the most effective government programs.
Government is the only entity in the economy that produces nothing. Their product is just redistribution, and in that process, a third of the value that is confiscated is lost. That's just an average. I'm sure it's higher.
Wait, what? Say that again.
If I'm the government, every time the government takes $1 from you, 33 cents of that goes to the bureaucratic process of taking your dollar and spending it somewhere else.
Yes, to the upkeep of the government. Yes, I agree.
Right.
We need money to pay for the government. Yes.
Right. So
do you disagree that we need money to pay for the government?
I think that we don't need the government in nearly the capacity we have it in. I think that if tomorrow we dropped 3/4 of the government, the world would be better off.
I mean, it depends on what you mean by the government. Like,
all right. Well, I feel like we're getting off topic.
You're confused by who the anarchs are.
I know. The political spectrum loops on itself.
I'm an anarchist in that I'm anti-state. I'm not anti-governments. The state and the government.
What the fuck does that mean?
Okay, a government is when people get together and decide how to govern themselves. This is like society, right?
We did in the U.S.
A state is an institution, usually a government, but not always, that has a monopoly on violence, on legitimized violence. I do not believe that any institution I do not believe that institutions ought be given the justification to use legitimized violence.
I do.
Only individuals?
Well, I mean, when I say that, what I mean is in an idealized society, a state would not exist but like to get to there, that's like, you have to get there.
I will agree with that.
I accept that states exist now and we have to have states. However, when I call myself an anarchist, what I mean is that I'm anti the state, meaning in my idealized society, we would not have a organization that has a monopoly on justified violence.
So you're against government, really? You're just pro community.
I
am pro community, yes. Very.
And so are we, by the way. I mean, like me and Jeff.
No, I don't think
you're against government.
There's no such thing as an anti-community person, I don't think.
I don't even think.
There are people.
I want the state to have the ability to enforce rights and laws.
I mean, in the current situation, yes, I do.
I'm not a utopian. I don't exist. I deal in the world as it is, not this fantasy world. If people were different,
Okay, you're
we would
right.
live
I'm
in this
sorry. I was just
happy
explaining what
Disney
I meant by
society.
No,
anarchist.
yeah, we
because-
know, we know. Yeah.
What about do you believe in property rights?
I guess it kind of it's important to know what you mean by property rights. I mean, broadly, yes. I think like it can get a little wonky. I don't think people should have, obviously, in an idealized society, I don't think people should have private property. And private property being like property that you use to generate capital. But I do believe I'm a firm believer in personal property, which I think you and I would like. What I call personal property, you would probably call private property. Like,
So you're not going to share your toothbrush.
Yeah.
But you also don't want anybody to own a hammer that they can make money.
I don't think any individual should like own the a camper that they use to like make money. No.
All right.
I'm never going to live in your world. And what I
No.
find interesting is like Chris and I both come from poverty. FlowState came from jail. And you came like we're the three pro-capitalists, and you came from all this privilege, which probably came from capitalism, and you're the anti.
Yeah.
Which tells you something. All these people are always the richest. Is your dad a lawyer or something?
No, my dad is a actually, funnily enough, so he's a CEO of.
Dun dun dun.
Tell me you didn't cut out.
The cliffhanger is killing me.
Not
Timeout.
This is turning me into a conspiracy theorist.
Sorry, he's a CEO of a credit union, like a fucking non-profit fucking.
Is this daddy issues?
I think so. Does he know that his son wants to be a slave? Is pro-slavery?
Okay, yeah, I've never. Wow, guys, I've never heard that I have daddy problems. Oh my god, it's so y'all are so original.
I mean, I have them too.
Y'all are so
I'm not
original.
judging.
I mean, I do, but it's not about this. It's actually more about my mental health issues.
They all
but-
coalesce together.
I mean, I'm sure. I've never heard that like my political ideals are because of my daddy issues. Never heard that before, ever. Y'all are like the first.
Are you
people-
being sarcastic? Or are we honestly the first?
Yeah, he's
person?
being sarcastic.
I'm being
Okay.
incredibly sarcastic.
Definitely.
My mental health issues personally are all mine. They don't belong to anybody else. So
We have a dog.
I
I
guess-
believe in mental health owner property rights. Owner property owner.
Okay. I guess I shouldn't blame him for them. I should say though, I literally inherited them from him. There we go. I can say that.
Yeah,
Genetics.
most of the leftists I talk to on these shows come from wealth.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like going to be just anecdotal, but I know plenty of leftists who aren't actually in Memphis. When I was a part of some advocacy groups, like most people weren't exactly what you would call very privileged. Most of them were from Memphis and were very, very poor and usually black.
Yeah.
And we were running in like the same groups, we were, doing the same shit.
So if you have you ever like, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this without being a dick.
You can
just
be a
go-
dick. It's fine. You just go ahead.
You
We're
can-
way past it. We're way past
I don't
this.
want you to shut down again.
I mean, it mostly depends on, I guess, what you're gonna say.
If you do something productive, don't you want to be able to get the reward? And if you don't get a reward for doing something productive, why the fuck would you do it?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I do think that. This was actually we got a little bit off track, which I guess this is one of those things. So I'm an advocate for the labor theory of value.
For what? Oh, labor theory.
Which is nerd shit and is
I'm
Probably-
looking up-
yeah. Probably one of the like few things that I think is actually like, I guess not important, but like it's one of the things that I think people who aren't Marxists could possibly gain something from reading Marx on is Das Kapital and like his whole stuff on the labor theory of value. I do think it's like probably the important things that he talked about. Though there are definitely other prominent thinkers who have discussed the LTV. Notably, the father of capitalism, Adam Smith, is a proponent.
I mean, before there was mental gymnastics and economic theories, there was just exchange, free trade,
free market.
Well, so there has never been a truly free market. That's like
a truly free market is the starting point. It is ground zero. It's the genesis of all economics.
Yeah, it allows me to.
If you go back far enough, there's it was all barter and trade system. So like, yeah,
actually,
that was a free market.
Interestingly enough, so there is so like most of our, I guess, ideas of how like money came into being was like we had barter, and then we had money, and then we had credit. But actually, there is some like interesting stuff on that. It was actually the opposite. That credit is where like the like money basically began.
That would make sense, actually, in a way.
Yeah, it's actually, God, I can't remember the book now. I'll have to fucking look it up. It is an interesting thing on like the idea of like debt, but like the idea that like debt came around before currency is definitely like really interesting.
Like if I give you some rice today, you'll give me some next week.
I think exactly.
Yeah, something like that. Like, yeah,
whatever.
Like if I'm going to owe you, you're going to owe me so much because I'm giving you this rice, kind of thing. You know, you're going to owe me so much of whenever your crops come in, whenever your turnip crops come in, then you're going to give me so many turnips because right, something like that.
Yeah, and that's actually a kind of an interesting little tidbit. But yeah, basically, my. I guess like
yeah. Did you? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Just posted a link. Did you ever put up part 3?
Yep, I did. I put them in order backstage. So I wasn't. I just wanted to do that before I forgot about it. I'm not trying to like, distract and plug.
In fact, you can put it in the main chat. Flo did a 3-part series on capitalism versus communism, a panel discussion. So viewers might be interested in that.
I did actually see you sent me one of those, and I watched some of it. I think it might have been part 2. I think I watched some of it. I apologize. I did not watch the entire thing because the amount of videos with those titles. Well, the amount of videos with those titles that I have watched is way too damn high. But I will absolutely give this.
Yeah, I like it. Actually, and it's a very chaotic discussion. It's not when Jeff made it sound more professional than it is. What it was a chaotic shit show panel discussion. But
that's it, panel. I just assumed.
Yeah, I liked it because it allowed me to actually address a lot of the common, socialist talking points. Even though Jack denies being a socialist, he basically for sure is.
Yeah, that surprised me that he was. Like, Jack is such a calm, nice guy, but the minute you talk about money, that's when his demon comes out every time he turns to a werewolf. And you get angry Jack. You might like Jack Talcott, but you might be more. He's here in Washington too, surprise.
I like Jack Talcott. His economics are atrocious.
I don't agree with everything he says, but as a person, I definitely like it. I can hang out with him easily.
Well, and ultimately you can boil it down. And here's how I view everything economics. It's just a sliding scale between more freedom and less freedom. Everything political, everything economic can be boiled down to that scale. Does the individual have freedom, or does the centralized authority tell them what to do?
I think that's.
Hey,
I don't fully. Baby had my exact thoughts. I don't think that's entirely incorrect, but like I do think it's overly simplified because like there are definitely ways in which individuals can like, because like, okay, the thing is what you're talking about when you say freedom is you're talking about negative free. Yes, you're talking about negative freedom.
I'm talking about negative rights, the right to not be fucked with.
Yes. Yeah. But like you're leaving out positive freedoms, which
Right, which is, and there's a good reason for that though, because negative freedoms are the only ones that everybody can agree they want. Nobody wants to have their free will violated. When you get into positive freedoms, absolutely everybody cannot agree on. You can't. A family can't agree what to eat for dinner or what movie to see.
sure, but that doesn't mean that they're not like important, right? Like
It means that since there's not a collective agreement, there will necessarily be victims in enforcing those. So they become not so much freedoms as burdens, definitely.
but
They
then,
become
like,
oppression.
Okay, but then like negative freedoms can also then lead to that same oppression.
But every single being can agree that they want their negative rights respected. That's the end. That's the end of mutual agreement. People can agree mutually this far. After that is where you don't have that enforcement, I think.
Sure, but like I agree that like we at least can all agree on like negative freedoms. I think that like broadly most societies agree that like some degree of negative freedoms is important, and obviously usually the more negative freedoms a society has, broadly the more free they are.
It seems like they can shade over to each other too. I'm thinking of gay marriage, which can be the freedom for people not to interfere with your marriage, or the freedom to marry, like a positive freedom.
I would think that the negative freedom would be like you don't have the right to interfere in gay marriage, and also they don't have the right to interfere in your cake business.
Well, but like then what about someone who would say that like it's their negative freedom to like not see gay people around them?
Well, that's not a realistic today's society.
Yeah, no, that's not a negative freedom to have to have. That means that you want the world.
Hang on.
No, it's not. Here's why.
There are definitely people who would say that absolutely is a freedom they should have. Is to
yes,
live
yes, and they do have. They can isolate themselves from it.
People say all sorts of things.
They would argue that they should live where they live now, like here in America.
Because if they don't want, I'm going to explain that. I understand that people want all sorts of absurd things, like to get rid of personal property rights, but that would what does the obligation then? That requires the world to be cleaned up before you arrive. So we'd have to go around and sweep all the gay people out of the street.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an obligation on others instead of on you. That's not a negative right. You're demanding somebody else provide you something.
Okay. I would like the right to not what's it? Oh, I would like the right then to not breathe smog.
Do you breathe smog?
Well, I mean, if say for instance, there was a company up the river that,
and if you're right, and if there was that, they would be encroaching on your negative rights because they're fucking up your turf. If you're sitting at home and you got smog coming in from them, that's negative right still.
Okay, but what if they're like, I have the right to like run my company here? How do we?
If they're operating, I mean, it's negative rights. We're just getting into nitpicky stuff, but that's negative rights still.
We are. I guess like my big thing is that I think rights are important, and also preventing harm and promoting well-being are also important.
And redistributive policies cause harm.
As far as rights are concerned, or rather, I guess I should also clarify when I say harm and well-being. What I mean is unnecessary harm to people.
Should people have the right to make bad choices?
Absolutely should.
So all the
I guess I shouldn't say that without clarification. They should have the right to make bad choices as long as those bad choices do not harm
others.
So like I can take the choice to drink alcohol, right? Which is harms me, but I get to make that
sounds
choice.
awfully libertarian, Lib.
Yep, I'm gonna get him.
But I don't.
Wait, we're fighting over centrism.
I don't have the right to drive drunk.
Yeah. If you decide to become a drunk, Do you have the right to have somebody else provide a house for you?
If I
If you spend your life as a gutter drunk all day, every day, you're just drinking, is somebody owe you a house to live in?
does someone
Yep.
see now you're saying someone. I don't think any one person owes any other person a house, except I guess if
Are you owed a house?
am I owed a house?
Is housing a human right?
Oh, housing absolutely is a human right.
So there's no way that you can make all the worst. You never have to suffer the consequences of your decisions fully. You can do whatever you want, and you are still owed a house.
I mean, I do think that, yes, I think that society is made better when people are given places to live.
You trash it. Let's say you trash it, and it stinks because the plumbing is all fucked up.
Uh-huh.
Are you owed repairs?
That's a little more complicated. Possibly.
It gets condemned because you've been such a shitty homeowner. Are you owed a new house after the demolition?
Housing is a human right, so I still am consistent on.
So you think someone should have the right to a house? I mean, like I can even see how someone could be rode a house the first time, but then if you destroy that house, then I think you're fucked at that point.
No.
I'm sorry, you didn't take care of your house.
I apologize. What I'm doing is I'm being consistent. However, we're not like going into details because, like, ideally and obviously, I believe housing is a human right, and I do believe that people should have housing, but I don't think that's without like. It's not without stipulation or limitations. Like, for instance, I don't think that the government should give everyone a house, and then if people burn their houses down like on purpose, that then they just like get another house, whatever, like conflict free. Like, obvious, because partially it's your personal property, but it's not only your property in that instance. There are ways in which you can do this without allowing for people to abuse the system. Like, you're saying, what if someone abuses the system? And I'm saying, I think we should set up things so that people don't abuse the system.
So why hasn't the housing crisis been solved yet?
Because houses are commodified.
I mean, they've tried housing first policy.
They are a commodity. There's no way to make a house not an asset.
Well, and there's also the issue that there are homeless people that do not want homes.
That is, yes.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
There's a lot of them. Look,
a lot of these people.
There are a lot of homeless people who have the ability. There are options for them to get out of homelessness. They would rather not do it because they'd either have to get sober or have to follow some rules. A ton of them, probably the majority of them.
That's okay. Now that's really anecdotal.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
I have worked in
hundreds. You can say it's anecdotal, even hundreds, but it's not. It's beyond that.
Okay. What is the then like? What is your answer to all of the times where like they've done that like fucking experiment where you take like fucking a group of homeless people? We talked about this the other day. There was that I think it was Denver. They gave a group of homeless people like $1,000 a month. They gave a different group. It was like $6,500 up front.
Yeah, we're for UBI. Like me and Jeff are both for UBI. Like we both think that UBI is a good idea.
I think it's trash.
The thing is that like one of the like I guess things that they looked at was like people's housing situations at the end of this thing after they like were given money, and like a much higher proportion of people who were given, especially like the $1,000 a month, the like consistent $1,000 a month, like something like a 20% more than all of the other groups like had consistent housing. Like,
so I think that this is where anecdotal experience would be beneficial. It's not a coincidence that everybody who is all the kids who are socialist, all the black bloc commie kids are rich kids.
Well, okay, so
And I'm not trying to be rude or dismissive or anything, but like if you've been around homeless people, which I have, They're
Okay,
they're
so
not
again,
they're not these little angel basket cases that y'all like to hold them up as.
I can concur to this. I mean, like I have tons of empathy for homeless people. I've been very close to being homeless myself. I have been homeless myself, and I'm telling you what, there's a lot of homeless people that like there are some there's really well-meaning ones, and a lot of the people that really want a home and really want to get off the streets, they usually do. They usually take advantage of the programs. They usually get there. The people that are perpetually homeless, they're not perpetually homeless because of systemic problems. They're perpetually homeless because they don't want to do the things.
Yeah, most of them are non-functional. They're not even in a space where they can even make those decisions.
yes,
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think a lot of them are functional. A lot of them do have wads of cash in their pocket. I'm telling you. I know that they're
Mentally functional, mental health and/or substance use.
Yeah, in my at least experience with homeless people, like most of the time they're like, because like where I used to work at, like when I worked at Starbucks, we lived like our store was like right next to an overpass, and there was a homeless encampment right there, and you know we'd have homeless people hanging around there all the fucking time. And I got to know some of them, and most of them were not stable people, I guess.
Yeah.
Like they needed a lot of help.
Yes.
Do you think that I view homelessness as not even necessarily always a problem. I think that it's a problem for us who don't live that lifestyle, or we just assume it's a problem for them. A lot of these people choose it. And I think it's their right to choose it.
Yeah, I do too, but I don't want to be around it. I don't want it to impact me. It's a problem when the Starbucks stops serving hot water because the homeless people are throwing it on all the baristas, so nobody else can get hot water from Starbucks. Shit like that.
No,
that happened to me in Seattle.
And there was an incident where one of our baristas was chased by a guy with a machete. However, do you know who like came to her rescue? It was the other homeless people.
So are we addressing the problem like these poor people need help, or are we addressing the rest of our issue with we just don't want to see you around? Whose problem are we?
Jeff is addressing the we don't want to see them around.
I've worked in the industry that attempts to give them help, and I'm very pessimistic about it.
I love that you called it an industry, by the way.
It is. It's a total racket.
For what it's worth, and hey, look, right, this is going to sound a little psychotic, so hey, maybe FlowState might like it.
It can't be. Go ahead.
I think that basically giving more money to our medical institutions to basically house, especially like homeless people that are dealing with that kind of thing, would be a what?
What kind of thing?
Like mental institutions.
So we want more asylums. We need to make asylums great again.
Not obviously the versions of asylums, because there were problems with the way that asylums used to work.
And you think those are not there still?
I've worked in them. They work fine.
Yeah, no. Now they
do lobotomies.
Versions work fine.
Yeah, no. Now they're just underfunded today. Like now they're not as many of them.
Yeah.
And I think
a lot of the homeless people I see would be better.
I think they would be better in
facility.
But
there was this concept of community mental health where
I hate that concept. It's totalitarian, and it's going to turn into a way to deprive people of their due process. I mean, it already is kind of.
It can. I actually agree with FlowState. I do agree that is actually a really clear and present danger.
I think it's less of a danger than people think. You can easily set.
I think it's a huge danger.
I think it's a huge danger, but I think it's one that we can set up, roadblocks to avoid and to stymie, and then with I think with proper amounts of attention and
Well, mental health is you can't measure it. It's necessarily a matter. It's subjective. The diagnosis.
No. The diagnosis.
That's a huge problem, though. That creates a huge issue with some people's
You can
opinion.
measure its impact and functionality.
Yeah, and I think that's what we should be. That should be more of our.
And if you're unable to function within society, then here's a place for you.
But see, that's subjective too. How
If you want to do drugs?
how have you?
in this place over here?
Well, all drugs should be legal.
based.
Yeah, I don't necessarily even have a problem with
That's
that.
what Flo and I agree.
I want to minimize the impacts of it to me. I don't want your drug use to impact my life negatively.
Right. Well, I mean, it is already though. You have to subsidize this huge anti-drug camp efforts and the prison industry.
Well, I don't.
Well, I mean, you don't need to say any more.
No, like you
The
talking about
IRS probably.
Your tax dollars.
I have to know. I'm currently not.
But I actually did want to.
I've been before. I haven't paid taxes a long time, so my tax dollars aren't subsidizing anything.
Right.
That's fair.
I look forward to the day when I'm able to do that shit.
I did want to go back a little bit to something that Flo had mentioned earlier, which was about, I guess, like wealthy socialists.
Lord. Okay, I wasn't watching the chat. Let's see what we got here. My speakers went out too. Yawn, boring. Lotis was boring. Yeah, nothing to see.
Oh, okay. I see. I was curious. I
I
was like, well, who are you talking about? And then I looked at the chat and I was like, oh, okay, all right. Anyways, Flo, what I was gonna say was that while I have grown up with basically a supreme fucking immense amount of privilege, it is worth noting that I am not right now like fucking independently wealthy. Like I'm a poor broke person.
Because your daddy makes you work at a Starbucks.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, just even the. I mean, they don't. I don't think they put Starbucks in the hood. So even though you live by a bridge, it's still a good part of town.
No, it was very much not in a good part of town. What? No, the Starbucks was not.
The ones in Seattle after 2020 got completely taken over by the home. Like even the nice parts of town, they had to close them all. Yeah, and they moved.
Yeah, that whole thing. All those riots look like a big real estate land grab to me.
It may have, there was safety.
What happened to property values around there? Boom, they dropped.
Yeah, I mean, this was like 4 blocks from the Chaz too.
Oh yeah,
that area got degraded.
But that's just my conspiratorial thoughts.
For what it's worth, I don't defend Chaz again. I guess I'll say it.
You probably would have been.
Come on, man, that's your shit.
That was cringe and stupid. It was not praxis. All right, there were people like talking about how fucking awesome and no.
This is the commie utopia.
It was nasty. It looked like a big city park that homeless people had taken over. It was like
but they had a community garden.
No, they tore up the ground. They had all these.
Yeah, the community garden was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Like, seriously,
they didn't know what they were doing.
Great documentary about the Chaz thing. Man, that was amazing.
Oh yeah,
I wish I had seen it.
I know. Organizers
I stood on the border of it and looked in, but I didn't want to go inside.
Yeah, I know there were organizers in Memphis who like they fucking hated it because like, look in Memphis, like when we would go out and like do like community fucking shit, you don't. Oh my god, it just.
Memphis is grimy. My ex-wife's family is from Memphis.
Ooh yeah.
And Forest City. Forest City is like a Memphis suburb, isn't it?
No, it's way out. Wait, it's Forest City? Holy shit. Yeah, no, that's out like hang on. Let me make sure I know what I'm
Memphis and Nashville feel dirty when you drive through.
Nashville and Memphis feel different.
They do. I fucking hate Nashville. I hate driving through Nashville. It's like
Honestly, I like Memphis better too because Memphis feels more real, and Nashville is like everybody. It's the most polite, fucking friendly city.
Jesus fuck. I hate it.
It's
Oh my God.
weird.
Yeah, no, Memphis is better. All right. I love Memphis. We have better food. All right.
3-6 Mafia.
We've got we have the National Civil Rights Museum, which is actually unironically pretty cool.
The funny thing about civil rights is how the government comes in after something's already socially changed. The government comes in, makes a law, and acts like they saved the day.
I mean, I don't disagree. I don't exactly disagree.
We're going to make a libertarian out of you yet. Check out those videos I dropped backstage. I'm about to bounce off unless there's anything left.
Calcott's about to stream at 3.
Oh,
Yeah. No, I just want to so are you really a flat earther? That's what I just heard. You're really a flat earther, dude?
I'm a not heliocentric modeler.
You honestly haven't been on an airplane or?
Oh God, we're gonna start this.
He said not heliocentric. So what?
I don't have a positive. I don't have a positive alternative that I can say this is what it is. All I can say is that
Donut Earth forever.
Donut Earth is a possibility, but what I can say is that the heliocentric model doesn't work per physics, such as having a pressurized system next to a vacuum with no container. If the Earth's atmosphere would be sucked out into the vacuum, if that were the case.
And the flat Earth model fixes that?
No, I don't propose the flat Earth model.
Okay,
I don't propose a model. No. All I'm saying is I'm anti-NASA. How about that? NASA is full of shit.
Okay. That's much more fair. I heard that earlier and I was like, what? Like, not Flo.
We'll have to talk about this one day because Jim Bob thinks NASA's a cult and that asteroids are not real. And so
NASA is a cult. I have no opinion on asteroids. I don't know any of them.
What's your beef with NASA?
You don't know any of them personally? You haven't
I've never met an asteroid. I've seen some rocks that look like they could be asteroids, but I'm not convinced. My beef with NASA is that they're lying.
You don't trust them. But that doesn't NASA is not the sole authority on the model of the universe.
That's correct.
For some reason.
The model of the universe. So, for instance, I mean, do we want to go into this? I've got my phone battery's getting low.
We can do it another day.
We can do it another day.
Okay.
A good topic to take up.
Just consider this. If the Earth is spinning on its axis, for us not to get flung off, gravity has to hold us in place, right?
That's my understanding.
So that means that the gravity would have to be strong as shit at the equator and non-existent at the poles.
I don't know that follows.
My theory is that dark energy, dark matter, and gravity are all aspects of sound. I have no proof for this, but this is like a theory I woke up with in my head.
Okay, that actually is interesting, but it is interesting. That's a whole different thing. But think about spinning a basketball on your finger. Where's the centrifugal force? It's not at the top or at the bottom. It's at the middle. The top and the bottom are not spinning.
Is not centrifugal force.
No, I know, but gravity is what's offsetting centrifugal force.
No, centrifugal force isn't like okay. Centrifugal force also isn't like a thing. Like we talk about it, but it's not. There isn't such
a thing. It's a thing as much as gravity is.
No,
it's a force.
I took geology and astronomy in college, but I don't remember the details of it. I could brush up.
But I mean,
I'll try to get a scientist on next time we.
Well, I mean, I'm a lay person too, so you don't need to brush up at all. Just think about spinning a basketball on your finger.
Well,
where's the water going to fling off of?
We should. Well, I don't think a basketball is a comparable model to.
Right. That was my.
Of course it is. It's a ball. It's spinning.
Well, no. Because the properties of the Earth and the properties of a basketball are different. So, shrink the Earth to the size of a basketball and then spin it, and then we'll see. But will
you agree that gravity is the attraction of a smaller object to a larger object?
I don't think that's the definition of gravity I remember.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's not.
Shout out.
We'll make a scientific thinker of you yet. And
you guys, let me.
Our centrist of liberty. That's what we do here.
I just got in, and now you're telling me to stop. That's fine. I'll be blue balls. All right, my phone's about to die anyways. So, hey, thanks for having me up. Good talking to you guys. Check out the video if you're interested in the topic. But
I'm actually gonna check it out. Yeah.
All right, take it easy, guys.
I watched some of it. It really is worth seeing. Take care.
Take care.
I guess
That
we'll
got
wrap
better.
it up because we got because you said like there's some of their stream coming up, right?
Well, Jack Talcott's streaming. I was thinking about doing some movies tonight. I don't know if you remember, but we had set some nights aside to do evening streams as well, and this was one of them. But I'm okay with not doing one tonight and just maybe doing movie marathon. Or something. I had I wanted to do Waking Life. I have that Laurie Anderson Heart of a Dog, and I thought about doing Scanner Darkly because I haven't seen it in a while to see how it holds up.
Yeah, and Slacker you said too.
Well, I started watching Slacker last night, and it does the acting is really, really bad. It looks like an old 35 millimeter.
No, it doesn't. I mean, but I think the writing is so strong that it kind of overcomes it for me. But yeah, I mean you know,
all of it is what it did remind me of is the streaming universe. Like every one of those Slacker characters could be somebody on these streams, and the conversations they have could be the exact conversations that happen on the stream. Just the execution of it was so poor. Looking back. Did you happen to look at my screenplay at all I sent you? I glanced at the first few pages of it, but I didn't read it enough to have an opinion. It wasn't one of the best screenplays someone's given me to read so far. I've had several friends give me their screenplays.
I was shocked. I thought I was going to go back and read it because it's been 10 years since I touched it, and I thought I was going to go back and read it, and I thought I was just going to it would just be like Cringe City. I thought I was going to be sitting there just going, oh.
Why don't we try to make it use that as a basis for our movie and try to do it?
That's what I'm thinking about doing now. I reread the script. I reread the whole thing. I started reading it and I couldn't stop reading it. And I was like, because it's been so, I was so detached from it now. It's like it wasn't even my work anymore. I didn't remember most of it. I didn't remember most of the scenes or anything in it. I remember the basic premise, but I couldn't remember the script. And I was reading it.
Does it still have energy for it?
Like, this was decent. Like, I actually wrote a pretty good script here. Like, this was not bad at all. And I'm very, very harsh on myself. Like, it doesn't matter. Like when people tell me things that I've written have been brilliant before, and I'm like, no, I hate it. So like, it's not. Even
if it's just for fun, it's at least the starting point, and we can see where it develops.
Yeah, no, it's worth developing. I'd like to get your full opinion on it when you get take a chance to read it. And that goes for anybody else like in our community. If anyone wants to read it and take a look at it, like you're welcome to. I'll send it to you. Just let me know.
I like reading screenplays.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy. You're on the Discord, so I can send it to you.
Hell yeah.
Rad.
Machine, why did you make Tommy a mod? Not, I mean, it's your channel, and not that you can't do what you want, but you're losing your good people. I can't hang out in a stream that's moderated by Tommy. I'm not going to do that. And I think Destroyer seemed like Destroyer's a she, isn't she? Anyway, it seemed like they're out too. So that caught me off guard last night. Just give me some feedback as a viewer and a participant in your community. So I have to make a phone call. I don't know how long it's going to last, but after that's over, I'll be available for.
All right, well, just send me a Discord or a text or something, because like I might take them out for a minute just to get them out of the house for a minute.
It may be like have a history. Have history with Tom.
I don't know who Tom is.
I have a history with Tom too, and I barely know him.
Oh, you mean Tommy? Oh,
Tommy,
shit.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm sorry, TML. I love you like a brother, man. And I'm telling you, like Tommy, every time Tommy comes to your stream, I stop watching it. I just
I do too. Tommy is displacing the people that have more positive things to contribute. It's like elevating the lowest common denominator at the expense of the people that actually have something to contribute to the community.
And dude, I want to collab with you. We want to collab with you. Me and Jeff and everybody, we want to collab with you. We're not like we do, but like I know you're saying like, well, they want to collab and stuff like that. Well, okay. If you mean align yourself to who you want to align yourself, man. But
and I'll collab with Truther. I've seen him before. I don't know much about his views and stuff, but he seems able to hold an intelligent conversation, and that's really all I require. Oh, I see. He stuck up for you. He was one of your. Well, that makes sense. I just can't be like moderated by him. So yeah, I mean,
just because somebody wasn't part of the group trying to trash it in the stream doesn't mean they're not disruptive, and it doesn't mean they don't kill conversations. And that's the problem I have. Every time Tommy comes in a
They
conversation,
do Tommy does shut down streams in a different way. Because there are people that leave streams and stop watching streams when he's on it. The P bombers.
like penis bombers or something. People like pulling dicks out.
Oh, they were. Yeah, bombing. They go on the stream and they show illegal stuff to try to get the stream shut down.
Oh, Jesus, fuck.
That's why I vet people that come on here. I gotta either know them or see them on camera first.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad I just don't even fucking use a camera. I just fuck that. You don't even have to worry about that for me.
Yeah, I don't know how you.
I didn't know you were a P-bomb last night, man. I really feel for you on that, but like I honestly.
Oh my God, you got bombed last night? Fuck. Jesus. I was ready to watch. I sat there all excited, ready to watch, and then when Tommy became moderator, I'm like, no fucking way. I can't even finish watching the show. But maybe I'll go back and watch it because he's not live. Like, it's not live, so I think it's okay to. I thought CBO. I'm surprised he's even still around. I thought he'd stopped streaming and everything. He hangs out in the chats. Man, you certainly made yourself a target.
It kind of reminds me of that movie 24-Hour Party People we talked about watching. Like one of the things that led to the factory, the club they started downfall was the fact that they had all these drug dealers in the club that were selling drugs that was causing cops to come in. So what they started doing, and they started causing gang wars. It's different. So they hired one of the gangs to be the doorman for the club. But that only led to like giving them a monopoly, and it was like this whole it's like this series of things. So like I feel like putting Tommy as a mod is like putting one of those drug dealers in charge of the door.
Yeah,
I think it's going to lead to worse things.
Like the healthy people are not going to stick around for that.
What is?
By the way, like later on, I don't know, in an hour or so, we're probably going to be watching movies in Paul's Discord. So if you want to join us for that.
It's not Paul's Discord. That's our Discord now. Paul's
well, it was his community. I guess it's the community Discord. It's not really. I mean, I moderate it, but to the extent that it's moderated at all. But it's our space. So that's 3 shows we're hate watching and restreaming. I wish somebody would hate watch and restream mine.
Hey, I hate watch. All right, don't.
Yeah.
You hate participate. What are you talking about?
I hate participate. That's the best. Yeah. No, the thing with Flow was pretty bad initially, but it leveled out.
Yeah, Flow. I like Flow.
I know. I ended up liking him. It just he had to,
Chris had that impression too initially. He said he was a douchey frat boy.
I mean, it's not even douchey frat boy. It was just like.
I like him because he's both. We're both Enneagrams 8. I mean, that is the Enneagram 8/7 wing. In fact, that is the quintessential Enneagram 8 personality. So I'm. It doesn't throw me at all. He's just very direct and speaks his mind, and you know where you stand with him, and I appreciate that.
Well, he's very direct. I don't appreciate the like words being put in my. I don't mind being called a Marxist. I just didn't really like the. I don't really appreciate having.
Bullshit.
What?
He likes to cut through bullshit. Whatever he perceives as bullshit, he likes to cut through it, and I like to.
I mean, I like to cut through bullshit too, but like, I guess okay. I guess this is probably unfair because I know that I'm being honest, but he doesn't know that I'm necessarily being honest. So, he might.
What? I don't find you dishonest. I find scattered, like your positions shift in the topic. We start talking about one thing, and next thing we're on some other topic, and how do we get there? And then your definitions are different than definitions I use. So and part of that, when I said you were young, I think part of that is just like sorts itself out through experience. And what was the other one? From understanding is experience and intuition. Well, I don't have. It's not your intuition I have a problem with at all. I think your intuition is probably very sound.
No, I mean, I think I like to think it is, but I mean, I think
it's your judgment. Knowledge was perception and judgment, and understanding added experience and intuition. So I think it's your judgment and your experience, but that will sort itself out over time. I think your knowledge and your intuition are perfectly intact. Hey, Juniper.
Hey. And I mean, like, look, if I still think the exact same things that I think right now in 10 years, I've done something wrong. I can almost guarantee
Yeah,
it.
and so have we, because we're trying to get you into enlightened centrism. We need you for our quota.
Look, if you think the exact same things you think today, you've probably done something wrong too.
Some positions have been consistent my whole life.
Well, yeah, okay, obviously, like,
And some
things
I
are
have
consistent.
changed. And
But you
there's a
shouldn't.
saying, I'm not going to get it exactly right, but a man changes his opinion frequently, but never changes his principles or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't
you
think
can
any
change
of
your
my
opinion.
principles have changed, but my views and perspectives have certainly refined themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's a similar thing with me. I think, like, early on, actually, especially in my life, I didn't really understand my principles, which is why my views were so different, because I didn't really have a full understanding of even my own principles. I didn't have a coherent understanding of my own principles. And then, when I was in my 20s, I kind of fully started thinking about my own principles, and that's sort of where I am now. And my views will certainly change, I hope. But my principles.
I mean, we're both in a process. You're just at a different part of it than I am,
yeah.
And I guess that's what I meant by.
We're all different processes. Yeah, and I think that's I think probably the best age discussion of it, because oh my gosh, I have had people be like, well, so and you're just young, which is why you can't know, which is why you're incorrect. And it's like, that's just silly. That's just dumb.
I don't think that at all. In fact, I'm beginning to think the opposite. And Paul's responsible for this shift. But I almost think that the next generation, like you and Paul's generation, is closer to the horizon of the future than I am. And you're actually perceiving and intuiting things that I'm not able to. And part of us should look to your generation for leadership.
Well, I think part of it has to do with, like, I guess, how much my generation is on the internet. I think is one of the big things. We are, I think Gen Z in particular is much more in tune with, I think, the social zeitgeist than previous generations, because of mass communication, because we're always on the fucking internet. Now, it creates problems for sure, but also it does mean that we're able to have, especially like when you have a diverse group of people who are on the internet, right? So like I understand the zeitgeist of like certain, like, things like TikTok, right? Because that's one of the social media sites that I use. And there are other people who, like, they understand the zeitgeist of places like Twitter or Facebook, and because that's where or Instagram, and understanding like where people are who use these social media apps, considering everyone uses them, lets you sort of get a vibe check on society. If you can pull all of these perspectives together, you can sort of figure out where a broad idea of where we're at socially. It's one of the usefulnesses of social media, but then you also have the other problems with social media. All of the problems.
This is a form of social media too.
This is absolutely YouTube streaming. That's all social media. Yeah. Like you all have like different people, and that's I think what I think I guess diversity of opinion is coming to mean is the way in which we consume social media is changing the way we view diversity of opinion. Like
watching TikTok versus streaming versus Reddit.
Yeah. I think that's an important part of how social media is developing and how we need to, I guess, be looking at it.
I think what you just said a minute ago, Jeff, is really interesting about like feeling like Paul and Liv and stuff are kind of part of like something that's more like focused for the future type thing. And I think that really ties into something that I've been thinking and saying too, is that I kind of feel like my place, or like where I feel like I'm heading anywhere, is what I'm trying to create the right venues for those ideas to be expressed in. I'm not really as concerned with the ideas themselves as much as I'm concerned with creating the venues. I'm trying to create communities and places for those ideas to grow and be developed and expressed, because I think that's kind of like the responsibility of my generation.
Yeah,
and
to incubate the future.
yeah, it creates spaces where those ideas can incubate and become the strongest version of their ideas they can be. Because I don't feel like I mean, I feel like I have ideas, I have ideas about things like that, but I don't feel like they're forward thinking enough to be important in the long term. But I feel like they matter. It matters if we can create spaces for for people like you and Paul and stuff like that to express those ideas and stuff like that. I think that's really interesting that you said that. That's all. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna. She's getting fussy, so I'm gonna let her say goodbye and say goodnight.
Bye, Juniper. Bye. We'll see you tomorrow for your.
I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Yeah, clap.
Bye. It was so good to see you.
So good night, everybody. We love you.
Patty cake
Love
soon.
you all.
Okay. Love you, Jeff. Love you, Lib. Have a good and Machine. Yes, we'll collaborate soon. If you're still out there. Good night, guys. Bye.
God, seeing Chris's kid makes me almost rescind my thought of I never want kids.
I know. I used to hate babies. I hated babies. I don't know
I've never hated babies. I just when I was 14, my brother was born. So I literally grew up with a baby. So I thought oh yeah, I know what it's all about. And now more and more I'm just damn, what if
there's something about her, because I should not be having the reaction I do when she's around.
Hey, look, you're a good adult. That's what it is. Anyways, hey, don't worry.
Being a better Satanist.
When you say Satanist, I guess are you talking about the satanic temple or?
Yeah, I started in the satanic temple, but it's way too woke for me. I left it. I was only in it a few months, and then now it's called outsider Satanism. It's independent.
Okay,
it's just non-theistic.
Rad. That's pretty sick. Is that a big thing over here, in Seattle?
No, I'm the only one I know. I've been trying to find a community of Satanists. There's the Satanic Temple. There's a little group called Queers for Satan or something, and they are up here, and they have their own little community, but they're very woke, very left. They're like anarcho-capitalist, and they are very antagonistic toward the Satanic Temple. They had a falling out with them, and now they're trying to expose the Satanic Temple.
Yeah.
At the Pride here where I am this year, they had a little tent that had the whole tent was queer Satanists, and they were selling art and T-shirts. So they're around, but they're not my brand of Satanism.
Don't you love the infighting? I love infighting among any groups. It's so great.
I was about to say that happens in so many. It's happened in every single group that I've been a part of.
That's
just what groups do.
Leftist groups fucking love infighting. They love nothing more than eating themselves alive.
I think they just like to fight. Period. They're just so hostile and aggrieved by everything. If they weren't fighting, they would find something to fight about.
I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, I'm more talking I've run into issues where we've had communities split between what I would describe as actual leftists and tankies.
Oh yeah.
And that's always a big split, because so many people I got roped for a little while, roped into the tanky shit, the American diabolism, America bad and nothing more than that, support anyone who hates America, and then that's just stupid and bad. It doesn't actually help anyone, and actually all of those people,
and all of the purity testing on the left can't be helping.
Yeah, there's way too much purity testing. Oh my god. I understand the whole you don't want to literally have in certain communities have unsafe people in certain communities. I understand that.
What is it? I've had this discussion before. What is unsafe? Because safety to me is physical safety. What kind of safety?
Oh, I mean that's what I'm talking about. I don't think. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm talking. When I talk about unsafe people, I'm talking about physical safety, because I'm talking about in-person communities that
generally people with guns or brass knuckles.
No, it usually has.
Antifa,
It usually has to do with people who are like politically not aligned with us. Notably, like there was a
how does that
number.
make you physically unsafe?
Are, I mean, neo-Nazis around queer people. There is a reasonable degree
How do
of,
neo-Nazis end up in your groups
well, it's they come to the groups.
to start trouble?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've never had that happen. I've never
that is
had
what I
someone show up at a group
that is
deliberately.
that is what I mean by unsafe people, or people who are in the group but then will like actively have done harm to somebody in the group, and then they
Like
that
physically.
is when yeah. Typically physically, usually they'll just be like either sometimes it's like just like stalking, which I would say while I don't think stalking is inherently violence, I do think that if there is
Yeah, I
someone,
think people have the right to not be stalked. Like that is an infringement.
yeah, it's not violence, but it's close enough. That has been like an issue, and that's I think an issue in like basically any issue where you're going to have young men and young women together. You'll have those issues arise. I'm certain there's right wing groups that have the same issue, but yeah, no. But leftists will do like a lot of purity testing on, especially most of the purity testing happens, I think, online. I think most of like what like we're talking about when we talk about purity testing, that's like all like a chronically online thing. I
okay.
haven't seen that as much in like, I mean, I was a white at the time cis straight guy, and I would go to these, well no, but like I would go to these places where like uh, and for what it's worth, I was all those things. I was privileged. I was from a wealthy family. I had all of these things that would, at the very least, cause some eyebrows. And then, sure, I spend
Like just being a white, straight, or whatever man. You were never straight. You were always gay, right?
Well, I was always gay. However,
But you were a cis gay because they have cis gay now. So like just being a white, I run into that too, especially up here in Washington State. Just being a white, having white skin, being male, and being perceived as cis, whatever, is enough for people. There's a stigma.
For me, it was enough to be well. So like the thing is, for what it's worth, I was taking part in like direct action stuff. So I don't mean violence. What I mean is like we were feeding people and stuff like that, which is, we were getting fined for that. It was illegal, but it was, if it makes you feel better, it was civil disobedience. We weren't like
this was in Seattle or Bellevue?
No. This is in Memphis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This was like years ago.
Memphis.
This is years ago.
So even there, you like your demographic worked against you?
Well, because I was from the suburb at the time. I wasn't from like I was raised just outside of Memphis, and then like when I went to college and stuff and like started living my normal life, I lived in Memphis because I lived by myself. Like that was the thing. That actually is part of the thing. Like I did grow up very, very privileged. However, like basically I moved out of my parents' house, and I don't.
That's when the privilege ended.
That's when that kind of. Now I am still privileged in the sense that like if I were like in destitute absolute need, I could call up my parents and get an insane amount of monetary help. So I do still have that sort of privilege in a sense. However, I'm not currently taking advantage of it. So it's,
And you're not a trust fund baby.
Yeah, I don't. Fuck that. No. I guess the closest thing I can say is that the 2 years of college I did go to, I did get paid for. So I don't have college debt, but I then didn't graduate. I didn't even graduate from college, so I didn't even do anything.
Oh.
Yeah, that was I dealt with like some pretty chronic depression when I was in college. That's actually part of the issue that I take with my dad is that, like, growing up, I experienced, issues with
I think
believe in addressing them.
you had cut out. They're fucking with us again. You always cut out
us again. Damn. I know, it's irritating. Okay. What I was saying is that I dropped out of college because I was experiencing some pretty severe depression. In retrospect, I was actually going through autistic burnout, like some pretty severe autistic burnout. But I had been experiencing burnout and dysregulation through most of my life. However, it wasn't really addressed by my dad because he didn't want to address it properly. Like the way it was addressed was fix yourself.
But they didn't know what it was at the time?
Yeah, they didn't. I did see when I was in middle school for a little while, I did see a therapist because of like bullying and stuff, but my opinion of the therapist has dropped since I have learned about the way in which, like, because it was a Christian therapist, like through a church, and yeah, it was a very specific kind, and so, like, yeah, again, like, that is on my parents, but I'm not like that's how it went. It sucks, but I have the life that I'm living, and I'm pushing through it. But yeah, no, so that was so there have been, like everyone, there are some ways in which I am privileged, there are some ways in which I'm not, and a lot of the ways in which I'm more obviously privileged, when I started going to a lot of these sort of direct action groups, that did mean that I was put under I wouldn't say a microscope, but I didn't have an in with the group. I just approached the group. So I was kept at sort of an arm's length for about the first couple weeks that I participated, basically to make sure that I wasn't a cop, basically. It's unfortunate, but I understand it's a safety thing.
Did they do that with everybody? Like all new?
And any newcomer who didn't like have someone to vouch for them. Basically, if you were invited by someone within the community, then you didn't need to go through this. That didn't like really happen. I mean, obviously there was a vetting process for everybody. Everybody went through the vetting process. However, like if you had someone to vouch for you, that sort of accelerated the vetting process. Because we were doing illegal things. Like it was,
like feeding the homeless.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's one of those. I put that even lower than stealing diapers on list of severity.
Yeah. No. Like, I mean, we were feeding homeless people.
I would even turn a blind eye to that.
Yeah. Actually, well, the point of it was that, like, we didn't want people to turn a blind eye. We directly wanted people to get arrested.
I think people should have the right to feed whoever they want.
Yeah, no. That's what the purpose of kind of direct action is. It's to like get they do in, I think it's Austin. Austin is like the big place right now where they're doing it. They're like, I think on like 77, 80 something tickets so far. Yeah. They're directly going and being like, hey, we're feeding people. Cops show up, give you a ticket. Then you post the ticket on social media and be like, hey, yo, cops the police officers gave us a ticket for feeding people. Look how fucked up this is. We should change.
Well, maybe next time we can watch some of those videos from it. Because
actually, yeah, unironically, that stuff's pretty cool. I'll see if I can go find some actually. So,
yeah, bring them next time. Which next time we're here 7 days a week, so just bring.
Yeah, just whenever,
Yeah.
All right, y'all have a good night.
You too. Good talking.
Good talk.
Take care. Okay, we're gonna I don't know, probably around the top of the hour, maybe start some movies and going. However, I don't have anything going on tonight, so I'm kind of in the mood for a movie marathon. So that's on our Discord. So just contact me for the link if you're interested. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. Central. Take care.